Hello and welcome. Tonight, we're taking you on a mesmerizing journey through the frozen Viking winter nights of Hrafnheim. Cozy up, relax, and let the gentle snow, the flickering firelight, and the serene forests guide you into a calm, peaceful sleep. If you enjoy this adventure, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more relaxing stories like this. Let's dive into the magic of the northern winter together. Once more to the frozen lands of the north, where the winter winds sweep over snow-covered forests and mountains, carrying the faint scent of pine and smoke from distant villages. The Viking world is quiet tonight, yet alive in its own rhythm, a world of hardy people who find warmth and companionship inside their longhouses while the storm rages outside. Imagine the snowflakes swirling gently in the pale moonlight, the soft crunch under boots as hunters return from the forests, and the glow of fires dancing across wooden walls. In this place, life is measured by the seasons, by the hunts, the raids, the stories told beside the hearth, and the silent beauty of frozen nights. In the small village of Hrafnheim, nestled between a fjord and a dense pine forest, the people prepare for the long winter. Smoke curls from the chimneys of timber homes, where families gather around fire pits, wrapping themselves in furs, sharing tales of gods and ancestors. Children, their cheeks flushed from the cold, play near the snow-dusted riverbanks, their laughter muffled by the soft drifts of snow. Beyond the village, the mountains stand tall and silent, keeping watch over the land, and in the distance, the northern lights flicker like ethereal dancers across the sky, casting green and violet hues upon the ice-laden landscape. Einar, a young warrior of Hrafnheim, steps cautiously through the snow toward the village hall. He carries a small bundle of firewood on his back, his breath misting in the cold night air. Though young, his eyes hold the weight of responsibility, for his father, a respected hunter, has grown ill, and the village depends on him to help prepare for the harsh months ahead. The longhouse is alive with quiet activity, women stirring pots of thick stew, men repairing tools and sharpening axes, and children listening wide-eyed as the village elder recounts tales of Odin and Thor. The stories are both entertainment and instruction, lessons in courage, loyalty, and survival, woven into the fabric of everyday life. Outside, the wind howls through the forest, carrying with it the faint scent of distant prey. Wolves move silently across the snow, their eyes glinting in the moonlight, and Einar's thoughts wander to the hunt he must undertake at dawn. The elders speak often of the delicate balance between man and nature in these lands, the understanding that to survive, one must respect the forests, the rivers, and the creatures that dwell within them. Tonight, however, he rests near the fire, listening to the crackle of flames and the rhythmic chanting of the skald, a bard recounting the legendary deeds of Viking heroes from long ago. As hours pass, the snow thickens outside, blanketing the village in a hushed silence. The only sounds are the soft clatter of iron tools being laid aside, the murmur of conversation, and the occasional bark of a dog. Inside, families settle closer to the warmth of their fires, sharing bread and dried fish, recounting their own stories of the day's labor, and whispering hopes for the spring to come. The night stretches long and unbroken, a canvas upon which dreams are painted, where imagination wanders freely to distant lands and legendary voyages across stormy seas. In the midst of the night, Einar's gaze shifts to the stars, faint through the drifting clouds. He recalls the elders' words about the sky as a guide for travelers, a protector in uncertain times. The constellations tell stories of gods and heroes, of battles fought and victories won, of journeys that stretch beyond the horizon. These tales are not just for amusement, they are reminders of resilience, bravery, and the bonds that tie the community together. Tonight, the sky is a silent witness to the quiet determination of the village, the resolve of its people, and the endless rhythm of life in the north. The winter nights are long, and often, the cold seeps into bones and hearts alike. Yet there is a strange comfort in the repetition, the knowledge that with each night comes a day, with each hardship comes survival, with each story comes wisdom. Einar feels this deeply as he listens to the skald's voice, the narrative weaving through the smoke-filled room, the flickering firelight casting shadows that dance like spirits across the walls. Outside, the world is frozen, still, and infinite, but inside the longhouse, life continues in a warm, steady pulse, unbroken by the storm. Hours drift by, and the village slumbers under heavy blankets and furs. Only a few remain awake, tending fires, watching over livestock, or standing at windows to marvel at the beauty of the northern lights. Their breaths fog the glass as they gaze into the dark, a silent communion with the wilderness around them. Einar drifts between wakefulness and sleep, visions of past hunts and future journeys mingling with the stories of gods and ancestors. The winter nights stretch endlessly, but within them lies a rhythm, a heartbeat that connects the present with all that has come before, and all that will follow. As the first hint of dawn begins to touch the horizon, painting the sky in pale shades of gold and pink, the village slowly stirs. Fires are rekindled, doors open to the crisp morning air, and the day begins anew. Einar readies himself for the hunt, checking his bow and arrows, ensuring his father's guidance echoes in each careful step he takes. The forest awaits, silent yet alive, holding secrets and challenges for those brave enough to seek them. Every snap of a twig, every glint of frost, is a reminder that in these lands, survival demands vigilance, courage, and respect for the untamed beauty that surrounds them. Einar steps lightly onto the snow-crusted path leading toward the dense pine forest. Each breath emerges as a pale mist, curling and fading into the cold morning air. The village behind him slowly wakes, the distant clatter of tools and low murmurs of neighbors mixing with the crunch of his boots. He feels a quiet thrill in this early hour. The stillness of the forest holds both danger and promise, and he knows that every step is a lesson in patience and awareness. The wolves that roam these lands are clever, the deer cautious, and the winter itself a formidable opponent. But there is beauty in the challenge, and Einar carries with him the wisdom of his father, the guidance of the elders, and the bravery inherited from generations of Vikings before him. The forest is alive in subtle ways. Snow-laden branches bend under their frozen weight, small streams gurgle beneath thin layers of ice, and the faint rustle of animals echoes in the distance. Einar pauses often, listening to the world around him, attuning himself to every sound, every movement. A rabbit darts across a clearing, a pair of ravens circle high above, and somewhere, hidden in the shadows, a lynx watches him with unblinking eyes. These creatures, though wary, are part of the rhythm of the north, and their presence is both a warning and a comfort. The hunt, he reminds himself, is not just for food, it is a communion with the land, a test of skill, and a continuation of a tradition as old as the mountains themselves. Hours pass as Einar moves deeper into the forest. The sun rises slowly, casting long, silvery shadows that stretch across the snow. He marks tracks, observes patterns in the frozen earth, and quietly celebrates small successes, a footprint identified, a broken twig signaling the path of a deer, the distant howl of a wolf confirming the forest's untamed nature. In this solitude, he finds clarity, a rhythm to his heartbeat matching the pulse of the wilderness around him. Every step is deliberate, every breath measured, and every glance carries the weight of both caution and wonder. By midday, Einar spots signs of a herd nearby. The tracks lead him to a clearing, where deer move gracefully, their fur blending with the muted browns and whites of the winter forest. He crouches low, adjusting his stance, drawing the bowstring taut, and waits. Time seems to stretch, the world shrinking to a narrow focus of arrow, target, and intention. A gentle wind carries the scent of the herd toward him, and he breathes slowly, ensuring his own presence remains a shadow among the trees. Then, with a swift release, the arrow flies, meeting its mark. The hunt, long anticipated, reaches its quiet climax, a testament to patience, skill, and respect for the balance of life in the frozen north. Einar approaches the fallen deer with reverence, offering a silent thanks for the life that will sustain his village through the harsh winter. He works methodically, ensuring nothing goes to waste, storing meat, fur, and bones for tools and warmth. This ritual, passed down through generations, is sacred, a reminder that survival is intertwined with respect for all living things, that every act carries consequences, and that even in the coldest winters, life persists through diligence and care. As he prepares to return to Hrafnheim, the forest seems to acknowledge him, the soft rustle of branches and distant calls of animals marking his passage through their world. On his journey back, the afternoon sun dips lower, casting an amber glow across the snow. Shadows lengthen, and the forest takes on a mysterious, almost magical quality. Einar's mind drifts to tales told by the Skalds, the stories of Viking voyages, of gods walking among men, of storms survived and enemies defeated. These legends, though distant in time, feel present in the quiet majesty of the forest, and Einar senses that the world is larger than the village, larger than himself, yet intimately connected through courage, wisdom, and perseverance. By evening, he reaches the outskirts of Hrafnheim, the familiar outlines of homes and the distant smoke of chimneys welcoming him back. The villagers greet him with nods and murmurs of appreciation, aware of his efforts in the hunt. Inside the longhouse, fires are rekindled, pots stir with hearty stews, and children gather to hear tales of both real and imagined adventures. Einar shares his day's work modestly, the community responding with gratitude and quiet pride. Here, in the warmth of the hearth, surrounded by family and neighbors, the trials of the forest are transformed into shared experience, the cold and danger softened by companionship, tradition, and the enduring spirit of the north. As night falls, the village settles once more under heavy blankets of snow. Fires crackle, casting dancing shadows on timber walls. Einar sits by the hearth, reflecting on the day, the hunt, the forest, the fleeting moments of connection with both nature and his ancestors. The Skald begins a new tale, weaving the day's experiences into the eternal tapestry of Viking life, reminding all who listen that courage, patience, and respect for the world around them are the true measures of strength. Outside, the wind whispers through the trees, carrying the faint promise of another day, another hunt, another story yet to be told. The long winter night stretches onward, serene and unbroken. Einar drifts between wakefulness and dreams, visions of snowy forests, fierce storms, and distant seas mingling with memories and hopes. The village sleeps in quiet comfort, each household a small beacon of warmth and resilience. In these nights, the rhythm of life, the interplay of man, nature, and legend, continues unabated, and the stories of the Viking world unfold, softly, endlessly, guiding the listener through the frozen, magical north. The next morning dawns pale and cold over Hrafnheim. A thin veil of mist hovers above the snow, softening the edges of the village and blurring the lines between land and sky. Einar rises early once again, mindful of the chores that must be done before the village fully awakens. He gathers firewood, checks traps set along the forest's edge, and prepares supplies for the coming days. The rhythm of winter life is unrelenting, every hour spent wisely ensures the survival of the community. Each task, though repetitive, is performed with care and respect, as the elders have long taught, nothing in this harsh land is wasted, and every action reverberates through both the village and the forest beyond. In the longhouse, the scent of fresh bread mingles with smoked fish, stirring appetites and lifting spirits. Villagers move quietly, performing morning routines with practiced precision. Children help fetch water from the nearby stream, their laughter bright against the muted gray of the snowy landscape. Elders speak softly, offering guidance, recounting old tales of winters past, and reminding the young of the resilience required to endure the frozen months. Einar listens closely, knowing that even the simplest words hold lessons in courage, patience, and the bonds that tie the village together. Later, Einar ventures toward the fjord, where ice-coated waters stretch silently toward the horizon. Fishing is a vital part of survival in these months, and skilled hands are needed to break through the ice and draw sustenance from the cold depths. The fjord is serene yet unforgiving, the cracking ice and sudden gusts of wind serve as constant reminders of nature's dominance. With practiced movements, Einar sets his lines, carefully checking for weak ice, and waits, attuned to the slightest vibration signaling a bite. In these moments, the world seems to pause, the only sounds being the whisper of the wind, the distant cries of seabirds, and the occasional splash of a fish breaking the frozen surface. As he works, Einar reflects on the stories of Viking explorers who traveled far across the seas, venturing into unknown lands with nothing but courage and faith in their skill. The fjord, though familiar, feels like a connection to those distant journeys, a reminder that exploration, challenge, and discovery are not only matters of the past but part of the spirit that defines this people. Each catch, each survival against the elements, is a small echo of those great voyages, a testament to endurance, cleverness, and the intimate understanding of nature that the Vikings have cultivated over generations. By mid-afternoon, Einar returns to the village with his haul. The longhouse is alive with activity, pots simmering over the fire, children playing quietly in corners, and villagers trading news of distant relatives and nearby settlements. Meat and fish are stored, furs hung to dry, and the village begins to settle into the evening's quiet rhythm. Einar shares his catch with neighbors, earning smiles, nods, and murmurs of gratitude. In return, others recount their own small victories, a trap that succeeded, a tool repaired, a story remembered. Each contribution, no matter how modest, strengthens the fabric of the village, reinforcing the sense of community that makes survival in these harsh lands possible. As twilight descends, the longhouse doors close against the bitter wind. Fires are stoked higher, the aroma of roasting meats filling the room, and the skald's voice rises again, recounting tales of gods and men, of battles won and lost, of wisdom hard-earned through struggle. Einar listens, the events of the day merging with the stories of the past, creating a tapestry that is at once personal and eternal. Outside, the forest waits, silent but watchful, a constant presence reminding all who dwell nearby that life in the north is a delicate balance between courage, skill, and respect for the natural world. Night falls fully, deep and endless, the snow blanketing the village in a hushed serenity. Einar lies close to the fire, the warmth seeping through furs and bones, and allows his mind to wander. He recalls the hunts, the fjord, the stories, and even the smallest moments of connection, a child's laughter, the shared glance of neighbors, the way the firelight flickers across timber walls. These memories, small yet potent, sustain him through the cold, weaving a sense of continuity and belonging that stretches back through generations and forward into unknown days. Hours pass, and the village sleeps peacefully under the watchful stars. Wolves roam the forest edges, owls glide silently above, and the northern lights shimmer faintly, casting spectral shadows across the snow. Einar drifts into a quiet sleep, his dreams carrying him across icy seas, through snow-laden forests, and into the hearts of distant ancestors who walked these same lands, hunted these same forests, and dreamed under these same northern skies. In this union of past and present, myth and reality, the Viking winter night continues, endless and serene, guiding the listener through its calm, frozen world. The following morning, a soft silver light spreads over Hrafnheim, reflecting off the snow and giving the village an ethereal glow. Einar rises before most of the villagers, moving quietly through the longhouse to tend to the hearth. The fire flickers weakly in the early light, and he carefully adds wood, watching the flames grow stronger. Around him, the house hums softly with the sounds of the village slowly waking, footsteps on snow-crusted earth, the low murmur of voices, the clatter of utensils as breakfast is prepared. Winter is harsh, but there is comfort in this rhythm, a predictable beat that brings warmth and security amidst the cold and snow. After a simple meal of bread, fish, and dried berries, Einar joins a small group preparing for a day of felling trees for firewood. The forest looms silently behind the village, its branches heavy with snow and ice. Each swing of the axe is precise, measured, a balance of strength and care, for a careless movement could ruin both blade and timber. The trees, ancient and towering, seem to watch silently as the villagers work, their shadows long and still in the morning light. There is both toil and beauty in this labor, the smell of pine sap, the crispness of the air, and the gentle crunch of snow underfoot make even the hardest work feel sacred, connecting the people to the land they rely upon. By mid-morning, Einar pauses to rest, leaning against a sturdy pine and listening to the forest around him. A pair of red foxes dart through the underbrush, birds call softly from branches above, and a distant river murmurs faintly beneath the ice. He thinks of the elders' stories of spirits that inhabit these woods, protectors of the land, guides to hunters, sometimes mischievous but always present. The forest is more than a resource, it is a living entity, and understanding its rhythms is essential to survival. Einar breathes deeply, letting the crisp air fill his lungs, and feels a profound sense of connection to the generations who have worked, hunted, and lived in these same woods before him. The afternoon is spent carrying the felled timber back to the village, each load stacked carefully near the longhouses for future fires. Villagers work in a coordinated rhythm, communicating silently with gestures and glances, each aware of the shared goal. There is satisfaction in this kind of work, a quiet pride that comes from labor done well, and the knowledge that their efforts will sustain the community through the bitterest nights of winter. Einar's muscles ache, but he welcomes the fatigue, understanding it as proof of both strength and necessity. As dusk approaches, the village gathers once again inside the longhouse. Fires are stoked high, warming every corner, and the aroma of stew, bread, and roasting fish fills the room. Children cluster near the scald, their eyes wide with anticipation for the stories that are about to be told. Elders nod in approval, watching the younger generation absorb the lessons hidden within each tale of gods, warriors, and distant lands. Einar sits quietly, listening to the voices around him, feeling the pulse of the village, the shared history, the collective strength, the enduring traditions that bind them together through hardship and cold. Night deepens, and a hush falls over the village. Snow drifts lazily from the sky, covering footprints, rooftops, and paths with a soft white blanket. Outside, the northern lights begin their slow, mesmerizing dance across the sky, painting it with streaks of green and violet. Einar gazes upward, remembering the stories of gods who watch from the heavens, of ancestors whose deeds shaped the land, and of distant warriors who faced challenges as fierce as those of any winter storm. In this quiet, magical moment, the weight of daily survival seems to ease, replaced by the timeless rhythm of life, legend, and the natural world. As the night stretches on, Einar drifts into a dreamlike state. His mind wanders across frozen fjords, snow-laden forests, and icy peaks, imagining the journeys of long-departed explorers, the strength of ancestors, and the resilience of his village. The fire crackles behind him, the skald's soft voice continues to weave stories, and outside, the world is silent, frozen, yet alive in ways both subtle and profound. These nights, endless and serene, carry lessons not only of survival but of patience, courage, and the quiet beauty that exists in a world so often seen as harsh. The wind shifts gently during the late hours of the night, brushing against the wooden walls of the longhouse like a slow, steady breath. Inside, the fire settles into a glowing bed of embers, casting a warm amber light that softly illuminates the sleeping faces of villagers wrapped in thick furs. The silence is deep, but not empty. It is filled with the quiet creaks of timber, the distant whisper of trees bending under snow, and the faint crackle of cooling wood. These sounds blend into a soothing rhythm, a natural lullaby shaped by the northern winter itself. Einar stirs slightly in his sleep, his dreams drifting between memory and imagination. He walks through endless forests where the snow glows like silver under moonlight, and hears the distant echo of oars cutting through dark waters. In these dreams, the voices of ancestors murmur softly, offering guidance without words, reminding him of strength, patience, and the long road of survival walked by generations before him. The dream does not rush. It flows gently, like a slow river under ice, carrying calm and quiet reassurance. Outside the village, the forest remains alert even in darkness. An owl glides silently between frozen branches, its wings barely disturbing the cold air. A fox traces delicate patterns in the snow, searching for hidden warmth beneath the surface. Farther away, the faint howl of a wolf drifts across the valley, not as a threat, but as a distant echo of life continuing in the deep wilderness. These creatures move with confidence through the night, guided by instinct and experience, just as the villagers are guided by tradition and memory. As the hours pass, clouds drift slowly across the sky, revealing glimpses of stars shimmering through the thin veil of winter mist. The northern lights return faintly, painting soft ribbons of color that fade and reappear like gentle breathing across the heavens. The village sleeps beneath this quiet spectacle, unaware yet deeply connected to the vast sky above. Time seems to stretch and soften, losing urgency, becoming only a slow unfolding of moments. Toward early morning, the embers in the hearth glow dimmer, and a thin layer of frost forms on the inside edges of the windows. A watchful villager rises quietly to feed the fire, moving with care so as not to disturb the sleepers. The simple act of adding wood becomes a sacred ritual in winter, preserving warmth, life, and continuity. The flame responds slowly, growing brighter, restoring comfort and safety within the longhouse. Einar's breathing deepens as he settles back into rest. His body recovers from the quiet labor of the previous day, and his mind floats gently between awareness and dream. In this stillness, the village exists as one living organism, each breath, each flicker of fire, each subtle movement synchronized in peaceful harmony. Winter does not feel like an enemy in this moment. It becomes a patient companion, teaching endurance, reflection, and respect for slow time. Soon, a pale hint of dawn touches the horizon, barely visible through drifting clouds. The world prepares for another cycle of quiet work, gentle challenges, and shared warmth. Snow continues to fall lightly, refreshing the land, softening every edge. The long Viking night slowly releases its hold, giving way to another calm, silver morning in the frozen north. The morning unfolds slowly, as if the world itself wishes to remain wrapped in silence a little longer. Snow rests thick on rooftops and tree branches, glowing faintly under the pale winter sun. Thin smoke rises from chimneys in gentle spirals, drifting lazily into the cold air. Inside the longhouse, villagers begin to stir, stretching beneath heavy furs, greeting the day without urgency. Winter teaches patience, and every movement carries a quiet awareness of conserving energy and warmth. Einar rises calmly and steps outside for a moment, allowing the crisp air to awaken his senses. The cold touches his cheeks like a soft, sharp whisper, reminding him that the land is alive and watchful. His breath forms slow clouds before him as he gazes across the white fields toward the dark line of the forest. Everything feels suspended in stillness, yet beneath the snow, life continues in unseen rhythms. Nearby, a group of villagers carefully clears a narrow path between the homes and the storage sheds, their shovels moving in steady, unhurried motions. The sound of metal touching frozen ground echoes softly through the quiet air. Children follow behind, laughing gently, pretending the snowbanks are towering mountains and secret tunnels. Their voices carry warmth into the cold morning, reminding everyone that joy survives even in the harshest seasons. Inside the longhouse, a warm meal is prepared, thick porridge sweetened with dried berries and honey saved from the previous summer. The aroma spreads slowly, filling the room with comfort. People gather near the fire, sharing simple words and small smiles. These moments of togetherness strengthen the spirit, reinforcing the invisible threads of trust and belonging that bind the village together. After eating, Einar joins an elder named Halder, who spends his days crafting tools and repairing worn equipment. The elder works patiently, shaping wood and polishing iron, his movements precise and unhurried. As Einar watches and assists, Halder quietly shares stories of earlier winters, storms that lasted for weeks, frozen rivers crossed in silence, and the lessons learned from hardship and cooperation. These stories are not dramatic, they are steady, grounded reflections that teach resilience through example rather than excitement. The afternoon drifts gently forward. Soft clouds move across the sky, filtering sunlight into muted shades of silver and gray. Snowflakes begin to fall once more, light and delicate, covering fresh footprints and smoothing every surface into quiet uniformity. The village slows further, embracing the stillness as if the land itself is breathing in long, peaceful intervals. Einar walks once more toward the edge of the forest, not to hunt, but simply to observe. He listens to the distant creaking of frozen trees, the subtle flutter of unseen birds, and the muted hum of wind passing through branches. There is comfort in listening without purpose, allowing the mind to rest within the soundscape of nature. These moments of silence become nourishment for the spirit, just as food sustains the body. As dusk approaches, the sky deepens into soft shades of blue and violet. Lamps glow inside the homes, reflecting warmly against frosted windows. The village draws inward again, closing doors gently against the cold. The fires awaken once more, and the longhouse fills with calm conversation and low laughter. Another winter night settles quietly over Hrafnheim, unhurried and full of gentle continuity. Night settles deeper across the land, wrapping the village in a blanket of calm darkness. The snow reflects faint starlight, giving the ground a soft glow that guides quiet footsteps between the homes. Inside the longhouse, the fire burns steadily, releasing slow waves of warmth that rise gently into the timbered ceiling. Shadows stretch and sway across the walls like slow-moving spirits, creating a peaceful rhythm that invites rest and reflection. Einar sits near the hearth, gently sharpening a small blade, not from urgency, but from habit and care. The soft scrape of metal against stone blends into the background sounds of crackling fire and distant wind. Around him, villagers speak quietly, their voices low and relaxed, sharing small stories of the day rather than grand events. These ordinary conversations carry a comforting familiarity, reinforcing the sense of safety and belonging within the walls of the longhouse. An elderly woman hums a slow melody near the fire, a tune passed down through many generations. The melody flows gently, without sharp edges or sudden changes, echoing the steady breathing of those listening. Children rest their heads against fur blankets, their eyelids heavy, drifting slowly toward sleep. The melody becomes part of the night itself, merging with the sound of the wind and the soft settling of wooden beams. Outside, snow continues to fall in slow, graceful patterns. Each flake descends silently, adding to the thick blanket covering the earth. Trees stand motionless beneath the weight of ice and frost, their branches forming delicate white arches against the dark sky. Somewhere in the distance, water moves quietly beneath frozen layers, unseen yet persistent, reminding the land that motion never fully disappears, even in the deepest winter stillness. Einar finishes his small task and places the blade aside, stretching slowly and feeling the warmth return to his fingers. He leans back against a wooden post, allowing his thoughts to drift without direction. Images arise gently in his mind, wide oceans under gray skies, long ships cutting through calm waters, distant coastlines barely visible through morning mist. These are not urgent dreams, but quiet echoes of stories heard long ago, resting peacefully in his imagination. As the night grows heavier, more villagers settle into sleep. The fire dims slightly but continues to glow steadily, protected by careful hands that feed it when needed. The air inside becomes warmer, thicker with the scent of wood smoke and wool. Breathing slows throughout the room, and the village collectively sinks into a shared rest, like a single, gentle heartbeat. Beyond the village boundaries, the wilderness remains awake in its own silent way. A deer steps carefully through snow-covered undergrowth, pausing often to listen. A distant raven shifts on a branch, feathers ruffling softly against the cold air. The land watches, waits, and breathes quietly, continuing its timeless cycles without hurry or tension. Gradually, the night deepens toward its quiet center. Time loses its sharp edges and becomes soft and fluid, flowing without measure. The world feels suspended between moments, resting in a state of peaceful continuity. In this stillness, the Viking winter night reveals its true nature, not harsh or cruel, but patient, steady, and gently enduring. A soft hush rests over the village as the deepest hours of night slowly pass. The air feels heavier, slower, as if every sound has been wrapped in layers of snow and silence. The embers in the hearth glow faintly, casting a gentle orange light that barely reaches the far corners of the longhouse. Breath rises and falls in slow rhythm throughout the room, steady and calm, creating a quiet harmony of rest. Einar shifts slightly beneath his furs, half aware, half dreaming. His thoughts wander through fragments of memory, the steady pull of a fishing line beneath frozen water, the quiet crunch of snow beneath boots, the warmth of firelight against cold skin. These simple sensations blend into one continuous feeling of safety and familiarity. There is no urgency here, only the slow passage of peaceful time. Outside, the moon drifts behind thin clouds, dimming and brightening the snowy landscape in gentle cycles. Frost settles softly along the edges of windows and wooden beams, forming delicate patterns like quiet artwork shaped by the cold. The village remains still, protected within the embrace of winter's calm presence. Far beyond the homes, the forest breathes slowly. Trees creak faintly as frozen branches shift under their weight. A distant river continues its hidden movement beneath layers of ice, whispering softly through unseen channels. Somewhere high above, stars remain steady, silent witnesses to the sleeping land below. As the night stretches onward, the boundaries between waking and dreaming grow thinner. Einar's mind drifts into gentle visions of wide snowy fields glowing under pale sunlight, of quiet footsteps echoing through forests, of calm waters reflecting endless skies. These images unfold slowly, without sharp edges or sudden change, allowing the mind to rest deeply within their rhythm. The fire receives another small offering of wood from a quiet guardian of the night. The flame responds softly, rising just enough to maintain warmth without disturbance. The glow deepens slightly, painting warm tones across resting faces and timber walls. The balance of heat and shadow remains perfect, preserving comfort without breaking the serenity of sleep. Time continues its silent movement. No bells mark the hours, no voices interrupt the stillness. The village exists inside a suspended moment, untouched by hurry or noise. Winter holds everything gently, teaching patience through stillness and endurance through calm repetition. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the darkness begins to loosen its grip. A subtle shift in the air hints that dawn is approaching, though the sky remains deep and quiet. The long Viking night prepares to release another peaceful morning into the frozen world. The first light of dawn arrives slowly, spreading across the horizon like a gentle breath rather than a sudden awakening. Pale shades of silver and soft blue blend into the sky, barely touching the snow-covered ground with their quiet glow. The village remains still, wrapped in the last moments of night's deep rest. Frost clings delicately to wooden doors, rooftops, and window edges, forming quiet patterns that shimmer faintly as the light grows stronger. Inside the longhouse, the air feels warm and heavy with the comforting scent of wood smoke and wool. The embers in the hearth pulse softly, maintaining a steady warmth that protects sleeping bodies from the sharp cold outside. Breathing rises and falls slowly across the room, each breath blending into the shared rhythm of collective rest. The silence does not feel empty. It feels full of patience, memory, and the steady presence of time moving gently forward. Einar opens his eyes gradually, not startled, not hurried. His awareness returns slowly, guided by the faint change in light and temperature. He remains still for a few moments, listening. The distant creak of timber settling, the soft sigh of wind against the outer walls, and the muted hush of snow shifting on rooftops all weave together into a familiar morning symphony. These sounds anchor him gently back into the waking world. He rises quietly, careful not to disturb others, and adds a small piece of wood to the fire. The flame responds with a soft glow rather than a sudden flare, preserving the calm balance of the room. He watches the embers brighten slowly, feeling a quiet satisfaction in maintaining warmth and continuity. Small acts like this, repeated day after day, form the invisible structure that supports life through the long winter months. Stepping outside briefly, Einar allows the crisp morning air to brush against his face. The cold is sharp yet refreshing, awakening the senses without harshness. His breath forms slow white clouds that drift away and vanish into the pale sky. The village stretches quietly before him, narrow paths buried beneath smooth snow, roofs gently curved under frozen weight, and distant smoke trails beginning to rise as others slowly awaken. Beyond the village, the forest stands tall and silent, its branches holding delicate layers of frost and snow. Sunlight touches the treetops lightly, creating subtle sparkles that shimmer and fade with every slight movement of air. The land feels untouched, pure, and endless, as though the world itself is pausing to observe its own quiet beauty. Einar walks slowly along the outer path of the village, not for duty, but for reflection. His footsteps compress the snow softly, leaving temporary marks that will soon disappear beneath falling frost. He listens to the gentle echo of his movement, feeling connected to the stillness rather than separated from it. In these moments, thought becomes softer, slower, allowing the mind to rest in awareness rather than action. He pauses near the edge of the fjord, where the frozen water stretches outward like a wide sheet of pale glass. Small cracks form natural patterns across the surface, whispering quietly as the temperature shifts. Beneath the ice, unseen currents continue their slow movement, reminding the land that even in stillness, life persists gently beneath the surface. The distant horizon blends seamlessly with the sky, creating a sense of endless openness. Returning toward the village, Einar notices faint signs of awakening, a door opening slowly, the soft shuffle of boots against packed snow, the muted greeting of neighbors exchanging calm words. There is no rush. Winter allows time to unfold gradually, honoring steady preparation rather than speed. The longhouse begins to breathe with gentle activity, preparing for another day of quiet tasks and shared survival. Inside, a warm morning meal begins to form. Pots are placed near the fire, grain soaking slowly, dried fruits softening in rising steam. The scent drifts calmly through the air, encouraging wakefulness without urgency. People gather naturally, drawn together by warmth and familiar comfort rather than command or schedule. An elder begins to speak softly, sharing reflections rather than instructions, small reminders about tool care, weather patterns, and respectful awareness of the forest. His voice remains steady and low, never interrupting the peaceful rhythm of the morning. Einar listens carefully, absorbing wisdom not only from words but from tone, patience, and presence. As daylight strengthens, the village enters its gentle working rhythm. Some prepare equipment, others mend clothing, and a few simply sit near the fire, enjoying warmth and conversation. Snow continues to fall lightly, refreshing the world with each delicate layer. Time stretches comfortably, allowing each moment to breathe fully before giving way to the next. The winter day does not promise excitement or conflict. It offers steadiness, reflection, and quiet resilience. In this slow unfolding, the Viking world reveals its true strength, not in battle or conquest, but in patience, balance, and harmony with the natural rhythm of the frozen land. The day continues to unfold in a slow, unhurried rhythm, as if the winter itself is guiding every movement with gentle patience. Pale sunlight drifts across the snow-covered ground, creating soft reflections that shimmer quietly and then fade. The air remains crisp and clean, carrying the faint scent of pine, smoke, and distant water hidden beneath ice. Every breath feels steady, grounding, and calm. Einar spends the late morning helping repair fishing nets near the longhouse. The fibers are stiff from cold and time, requiring careful fingers and slow attention. He works alongside two older villagers, listening as they speak softly about seasons long past, winters that brought heavy storms, summers filled with abundant harvests, and the gradual changes that shape the land and the people together. Their voices are steady and low, blending naturally with the quiet atmosphere rather than interrupting it. As the nets are mended, the repetitive motion becomes soothing, almost meditative. Hands move gently, knot after knot, restoring strength and function through patient care. Einar notices how the simple act of repair mirrors the rhythm of life itself, small efforts, repeated consistently, sustaining something larger than any single moment. The understanding settles quietly in his thoughts, offering a sense of balance and continuity. Outside, snowflakes drift slowly downward, spiraling softly through the air before settling upon roofs, pathways, and tree branches. Each flake arrives silently, adding to the layered stillness of the landscape. Birds move briefly between branches, leaving delicate trails in the powder before disappearing once more into quiet shelter. The world feels hushed, protected by its own gentle stillness. At midday, a soft meal is shared, warm broth, pieces of dried bread softened by steam, and small portions of preserved berries. People sit close to the fire, warming their hands and exchanging calm glances rather than loud conversation. The nourishment restores energy without heaviness, supporting steady movement rather than urgency. After eating, Einar steps outside again, drawn by the quiet openness of the snow-covered fields beyond the village. He walks slowly, allowing his footsteps to form gentle patterns that fade behind him. The sky stretches wide and pale, reflecting faint sunlight across endless white ground. There is no sharp boundary between earth and sky, only a seamless blending of light and silence. He pauses, listening deeply. The absence of sound becomes its own presence, a soft, spacious awareness that allows the mind to settle fully. In this silence, memories arise gently, voices of elders, laughter near fires, the steady pull of oars across water, the warmth of shared meals during long nights. These memories do not demand attention. They simply float softly through awareness like drifting clouds. Far in the distance, the forest edge appears as a dark line against the bright snow. The trees stand like patient guardians, holding centuries of stories within their frozen rings and quiet roots. Einar feels a subtle gratitude for their protection, their shelter, and their silent wisdom. The forest is not separate from the village, it is a living extension of their shared existence. As afternoon gradually leans toward evening, the light softens further, casting long shadows across the fields. The air cools gently, signaling the approaching return of night. Einar turns back toward the village, carrying with him the calm gathered from open space and quiet reflection. Inside the longhouse, warmth welcomes him again. The fire glows steadily, offering comfort without intensity. Some villagers prepare small crafts, carving simple shapes from wood or repairing worn clothing. Others sit quietly, eyes half closed, resting in peaceful contemplation. The room feels held within a cocoon of warmth, light, and familiar presence. A soft voice begins to tell a gentle story, not of battles or heroism, but of a traveler who followed the slow rhythm of the seasons and learned patience from mountains, rivers, and wind. The story flows calmly, without urgency, inviting listeners into a state of quiet imagination rather than excitement. Einar listens as the narrative drifts softly through the air, merging naturally with the glow of firelight and the steady breathing of those nearby. Outside, snow continues its silent descent. Night approaches without drama, bringing with it another long stretch of peaceful darkness. The Viking winter holds the village gently, reminding all who dwell within it that strength often lives not in noise or motion, but in stillness, consistency, and quiet harmony. Evening settles fully over Hrafnheim, not with sudden darkness, but with a slow deepening of color and quiet. The sky transitions through layers of pale blue, soft gray, and finally into a deep, gentle indigo. Snow reflects the fading light like a calm mirror, softening every edge of the world. The village seems to sink inward, protected by its own stillness, as if wrapped inside a warm breath of silence. Inside the longhouse, lamps glow softly along the walls, their small flames steady and patient. Shadows stretch gently across wooden beams and carved posts, moving slowly as the fire breathes. The air is warm, thick with the scent of burning pine, wool blankets, and faint traces of cooked grain. Voices remain low and unhurried, drifting like distant echoes rather than direct sound. Einar sits comfortably near the hearth, feeling the warmth settle into his muscles after the quiet labor of the day. His hands rest loosely on his knees, fingers relaxed, mind drifting freely without direction. The gentle crackle of the fire blends seamlessly with the distant whisper of wind outside, creating a steady background rhythm that calms the nervous system and softens thought. Nearby, a craftsman slowly shapes a small piece of wood, carving simple curves with careful patience. Each movement is deliberate, slow, and smooth. Tiny wood shavings fall silently onto the floor, adding to the natural texture of the space. The act itself feels less like work and more like meditation, guided by breath and attention rather than urgency. A few villagers exchange quiet stories, not to entertain loudly, but to share presence. They speak of the way frost formed delicate patterns on the windows that morning, of how the smoke rose straight into the still sky, of how a single bird rested briefly on a branch near the fjord before disappearing into the forest. These small observations carry a gentle beauty, reminding everyone that meaning often hides within ordinary moments. Outside, the snow continues its soft descent, thickening the white blanket across rooftops and pathways. The forest beyond the village absorbs the sound completely, standing silent and unmoving beneath heavy frost. Occasionally, a branch releases a small cascade of snow, producing a soft sigh as it settles back into stillness. As the night deepens, breathing throughout the longhouse becomes slower and more synchronized. Some villagers recline against walls or settle into thick furs near the fire, eyes growing heavy. The warmth encourages relaxation, allowing tension to melt quietly from shoulders and limbs. Time begins to feel less structured, less measurable, flowing instead as a continuous gentle presence. Einar closes his eyes briefly, not fully asleep, but drifting into a peaceful inner quiet. His awareness floats between external sound and internal imagery, the memory of pale sunlight on snow, the slow movement of clouds across a frozen sky, the steady rhythm of walking across silent fields. These impressions blend smoothly, forming a calm mental landscape free of sharp edges or disturbance. The fire dims slightly, then steadies again as another small piece of wood is placed carefully onto the embers. The glow brightens just enough to maintain comfort, preserving the delicate balance between warmth and rest. Shadows respond slowly, shifting gently along the walls like slow-moving waves. Far outside the village, unseen animals continue their quiet nightly paths. A fox traces a careful line along the forest edge, nose low to the snow. An owl glides silently between dark branches, wings barely stirring the air. The wilderness breathes slowly, maintaining its own rhythm alongside the sleeping human world. Inside, the longhouse exists like a single living body, many breaths becoming one, many heartbeats aligning into shared calm. The steady warmth, the dim light, and the gentle sounds create a cocoon of safety and continuity. Winter no longer feels distant or harsh, it becomes a patient companion, offering silence, reflection, and deep rest. As the hours drift forward, the mind naturally releases its grip on thought. Awareness softens, surrendering to the slow pulse of darkness and warmth. The Viking night continues its gentle unfolding, holding every living thing in quiet balance beneath the endless northern sky. The night stretches wide and deep across the frozen land, unfolding like a vast ocean of silence beneath the northern sky. The village of Hrafnheim rests quietly within this immense stillness, its wooden structures softened by thick layers of snow and frost. The world feels suspended between breaths, as though time itself has slowed to honor the calm presence of winter. No sharp sound disturbs the air, only the faint whisper of wind brushing gently against distant treetops and the quiet settling of snow upon frozen earth. Inside the longhouse, the fire continues its steady glow, releasing soft waves of warmth that move slowly through the room. The embers pulse gently, like a living heart maintaining the rhythm of safety and comfort. Shadows drift lazily across the carved beams and wooden walls, responding to each subtle movement of flame. The air carries the familiar scent of pine resin, wool, and faint traces of smoke, forming a comforting atmosphere that encourages rest and reflection. Einar remains seated near the hearth, his posture relaxed, shoulders loose, breathing slow and deep. He is not actively thinking, not planning, not anticipating. His awareness floats calmly within the present moment, gently observing the warmth against his skin, the quiet hum of distant wind, and the soft presence of others resting nearby. This state of stillness feels rare and precious, a reminder that strength is not always found in motion or effort, but often in quiet endurance and peaceful awareness. Across the room, a few villagers rest beneath heavy furs, their faces softened by sleep. Their breathing rises and falls in gentle synchronization, creating a subtle harmony that blends naturally with the crackle of fire. A child shifts slightly in sleep, murmuring softly before settling once again into calm rest. These small movements carry a quiet beauty, revealing the vulnerability and trust shared within the shelter of the longhouse. Outside, the moon glides slowly between thin clouds, casting shifting patterns of pale light across the snow-covered ground. The surface of the snow reflects this glow softly, creating a gentle shimmer that fades and reappears with every passing cloud. Trees stand tall and motionless, their branches heavy with frost, forming delicate silhouettes against the dark sky. The forest does not sleep in the same way humans do. Instead, it remains alert, listening, breathing quietly, continuing its ancient rhythms beneath the frozen stillness. Farther beyond the village, a frozen stream moves silently beneath its icy surface, whispering softly through hidden channels. Though unseen, its steady flow carries a reminder that life persists even when hidden beneath layers of cold and silence. Beneath the snow, roots remain alive, insects rest in stillness, and seeds wait patiently for warmer seasons. Winter does not erase life, it simply asks it to pause, conserve, and endure. Einar slowly closes his eyes, allowing his awareness to drift inward. His mind forms gentle images without effort, wide snowy plains stretching endlessly beneath pale skies, slow-moving clouds drifting like silent travelers, the quiet rhythm of footsteps across untouched snow. These images arise naturally, unforced, and dissolve softly back into calm awareness. There is no urgency to hold them. They serve only to deepen the sense of peace and continuity. Time passes without measurement. Minutes and hours lose their boundaries, becoming part of a continuous flow of stillness. The fire settles slightly, then brightens again as another small piece of wood is placed carefully by a quiet caretaker of the night. The action is performed with deliberate gentleness, ensuring warmth without disturbance. The flame responds slowly, preserving the fragile balance between light, shadow, and rest. The air inside the longhouse remains comfortably warm, protecting sleeping bodies from the sharp cold pressing against the outer walls. Wooden beams expand and contract faintly, releasing quiet creaks that blend into the overall soundscape rather than interrupting it. Each sound becomes part of the environment's natural rhythm, encouraging the nervous system to relax and settle deeper into rest. Outside, a light snowfall resumes, the flakes drifting slowly downward in delicate spirals. Each flake lands silently, layering softness upon softness, smoothing every sharp edge of the landscape. Paths, rooftops, and open fields slowly transform into seamless white surfaces, reflecting faint moonlight like a calm, frozen sea. The world feels purified, simplified, reduced to gentle forms and muted color. As the night deepens further, the sky clears slightly, revealing scattered stars shimmering faintly through thin mist. These distant lights remain steady and timeless, silent witnesses to countless winters, countless villages, countless lives lived beneath their quiet glow. They offer no answers, only presence, a reminder of the vastness beyond human concerns and the quiet continuity of existence. Einar's breathing slows further, becoming deep, steady, and rhythmic. His body releases remaining tension from the day's gentle labor, muscles softening, heartbeat settling into a calm pace. His awareness drifts closer to sleep without resistance, guided by the consistent warmth of the fire and the surrounding stillness of the night. Dreams begin to form gently, without sharp transitions. He imagines walking across a frozen shoreline where ice meets dark water, the horizon stretching endlessly into pale light. The air feels crisp but calm, and each step produces a soft echo that dissolves quickly into silence. He senses no danger, no urgency, only peaceful movement through open space. The dream shifts gradually, carrying him through quiet forests where snow rests thick upon branches and sunlight filters softly through pale mist. He hears the distant call of unseen birds, the faint creak of trees adjusting beneath frost, and the gentle hush of wind passing through needles and bark. The forest feels ancient and protective, holding centuries of quiet wisdom within its silent presence. These dream images flow smoothly into one another, without conflict or tension. They offer the mind a place of rest rather than stimulation, allowing subconscious awareness to settle into calm equilibrium. The body remains warm and safe within the longhouse while the mind wanders gently through peaceful landscapes shaped by memory and imagination. Outside, the wilderness continues its subtle movements. A fox crosses a narrow ridge near the forest edge, leaving a delicate trail of prints that will soon disappear beneath fresh snowfall. An owl glides silently between branches, scanning the darkness with calm precision before vanishing into shadow. These creatures move without haste, guided by instinct and balance rather than urgency. The village remains wrapped in deep rest, protected by the steady warmth of the hearth and the quiet cooperation of those who tend it. Each sleeping figure contributes to the shared rhythm of safety and continuity. The longhouse exists not as separate individuals, but as a single living organism breathing calmly through the heart of winter. As the deepest part of night slowly approaches its turning point, the darkness begins to soften almost imperceptibly. The air carries a subtle shift, a faint suggestion that dawn will eventually return, though the sky remains dark and silent for now. Winter does not rush its transitions. It teaches patience, trust, and respect for gradual change. The Viking winter night continues its gentle unfolding, holding land, people, and creatures within a shared field of quiet endurance. Nothing demands attention. Nothing interrupts the flow. The world simply rests, breath by breath, moment by moment, beneath the endless northern sky. The quiet of the night remains steady and unbroken, like a slow river of silence flowing endlessly through the frozen valley. The longhouse breathes softly, warmed by the lingering strength of glowing embers. Each ember releases a gentle pulse of light and heat, fading and returning in a calm rhythm that mirrors slow breathing. The air feels balanced, neither too warm nor too cold, creating a perfect space for deep rest and comfort. Snow continues to drift down outside, though the movement is so gentle it almost feels imaginary. Each flake follows its own slow path through the air, guided by invisible currents, turning slightly, pausing briefly, and then settling into quiet stillness. Over time, these countless small movements reshape the landscape in subtle ways, smoothing footprints, softening edges, and covering the traces of yesterday with clean, peaceful layers. Within the longhouse, the wooden floor holds the memory of many seasons. Each plank carries faint marks from years of footsteps, tools, and daily life, now resting beneath thick furs and woven mats. These marks no longer speak of effort or noise, but of continuity and endurance. They quietly remind the space that life flows forward through gentle repetition rather than sudden change. The beams above stretch across the ceiling like steady arms supporting the shelter. Carved symbols fade into shadow as the firelight shifts slowly. These carvings were made by hands long gone, yet their presence remains calm and patient, holding stories without urgency. They do not demand attention. They simply exist, offering silent companionship to the present moment. Einar remains deeply relaxed, his breathing smooth and even, drifting further into restorative sleep. His body recognizes the safety of warmth and familiar sounds, allowing the nervous system to release fully. Each breath flows in and out like a tide touching the shore and gently withdrawing again. There is no resistance, no need for awareness or control. Rest unfolds naturally. His dreams continue to move gently through peaceful spaces. He senses wide-open plains beneath pale morning light, though the sun itself remains hidden behind thin clouds. The ground appears soft and quiet, untouched by urgency or movement. He walks slowly, not toward any destination, but simply within the calm presence of open space. Each step feels light and effortless, supported by steady balance. The dream shifts into the image of a slow-moving river winding through silent hills. The water reflects muted colors of sky and stone, carrying small fragments of ice that drift lazily along the surface. There is no turbulence, no rushing sound, only a gentle flow that invites the mind to settle into steady rhythm. The river seems to carry time itself forward without effort. As the dream continues, the river widens into a broad frozen lake, its surface smooth and pale beneath faint starlight. The ice feels strong and stable, holding stillness without tension. The horizon blends seamlessly with sky, removing any sharp boundaries. The world becomes simplified into soft gradients of light and shadow. These images gently dissolve into deeper rest. The mind releases even the shapes of dreams, entering a quiet field of calm awareness. This space feels empty yet full, silent yet alive. It is the natural resting state beneath thought and memory, where the body restores itself and the nervous system resets into balance. Outside, the wind changes direction slightly, brushing softly against the outer walls of the longhouse. The sound is barely noticeable, like distant breath moving through unseen corridors of air. Snowflakes continue their slow descent, layering softness upon softness. The night remains stable, predictable, and safe. Deep in the forest, unseen beneath snow-covered branches, small animals rest within hidden shelters, conserving warmth and energy. Their hearts beat slowly, guided by instinct and patience. The entire ecosystem seems synchronized into a collective rhythm of rest and conservation. Life pauses not in weakness, but in wisdom. Far beyond the forest, distant mountains remain motionless beneath heavy blankets of ice and snow. Their massive presence shapes the movement of clouds and wind, influencing weather patterns in slow, invisible ways. Though they appear silent and still, they actively participate in the balance of the land through their quiet gravity and form. The stars above continue their steady paths across the sky, moving so slowly that the change cannot be seen in a single moment. Their light travels vast distances to reach the frozen valley, arriving gently without urgency. This distant connection reminds the sleeping world that it is part of a much larger system, bound together by quiet order and natural law. Inside the longhouse, the fire settles into deeper embers, glowing steadily without sharp flame. Heat radiates slowly into the surrounding space, maintaining comfort through gradual consistency rather than intensity. A caretaker shifts gently, adjusting a fur blanket around a sleeping child, then returns quietly to rest. No words are exchanged. Understanding flows naturally through shared presence. The atmosphere grows heavier with rest as the hours continue to pass. Muscles remain loose, breathing remains slow, and the mind stays calm and unoccupied. Even thoughts of tomorrow feel distant and unimportant, temporarily released into the safety of the present night. Eventually, the first faint suggestion of early dawn begins to soften the darkness at the far edge of the sky. The change is nearly invisible, perceived more as a feeling than a sight. The world remains quiet and slow, honoring the final moments of deep night before gentle light returns. The winter landscape holds its breath calmly, suspended between darkness and approaching morning. Nothing stirs with urgency. Nothing breaks the stillness. Everything rests within the steady continuity of time and nature. As the first faint streaks of dawn brush against the horizon, the village remains wrapped in gentle quiet. The snow reflects a subtle palette of soft gray and pale blue, each surface glowing faintly, as if the world itself hesitates to wake too quickly. The cold is present but not harsh, a reminder that winter's embrace is both stern and protective. Inside the longhouse, warmth persists, a slow radiance from glowing embers, comforting every sleeping form. Einar stirs slightly, his eyes opening to the dim pre-dawn light. He stretches carefully, feeling the softness of furs beneath him and the lingering heat of the hearth. Every movement is deliberate, slow, and considered. There is no rush. Winter teaches patience, and even the smallest gestures carry meaning when performed with mindful attention. Outside, the forest begins to reveal itself in subtle forms. Frosted branches catch the earliest light, turning white edges into shimmering outlines. The tops of distant pines appear as delicate silhouettes against the dim sky. Snow that fell during the night continues to drift gently, softening every surface and smoothing away footprints and marks from previous activity. Every moment is a quiet renewal, a small act of perfection orchestrated by nature. Inside, the longhouse awakens gradually. Villagers rise from furs, stretching slowly, moving with measured calm. A pot is placed near the embers, grains and berries warming slowly in rising steam. Conversations are minimal and quiet, carried in soft tones that preserve the serene rhythm of early morning. Children follow their parents' lead, learning the patience of winter through silent observation. Einar steps outside, drawing the cold air into his lungs deliberately. The crispness is invigorating without sharpness, awakening the senses while maintaining calm. Each breath drifts upward in gentle clouds, disappearing into the pale light. He observes the village with slow awareness, rooftops curved under frost, narrow paths filled with snow, smoke rising in delicate spirals from chimneys. The world feels tenderly suspended between night and day. He begins a slow walk along familiar paths, listening to the subtle sounds of winter morning. The crunch of snow beneath boots, the faint murmur of ice shifting along a frozen stream, and the distant echo of a bird settling in a branch, each sound flows seamlessly into the next. Awareness expands without effort, allowing perception of the environment in total calm. The frozen fjord beyond the village reflects the faint light, its surface smooth, pale, and unbroken. Small cracks in the ice suggest hidden currents beneath, whispering the persistence of life despite the frozen exterior. Einar pauses to observe, feeling both awe and serenity. The water beneath remains alive, flowing gently in hidden channels, reminding him that even stillness is not stagnation. Throughout the morning, villagers engage in slow, deliberate activity. Tools are repaired, firewood stacked, furs arranged and folded. Each movement emphasizes efficiency without haste, blending practical work with calm mindfulness. Einar participates quietly, observing elders with practiced hands, absorbing lessons about balance, endurance, and the subtle rhythms of seasonal labor. The forest edge remains a constant presence, dark and quiet against pale snow. Shadows of trees stretch across the field, softened by diffused light. Occasionally, an animal moves within the undergrowth, a fox, a hare, or a bird, all maintaining the same slow, careful rhythm as the humans below. There is harmony between these separate worlds, connected through patience and respect for natural cycles. The hours pass gradually. Breakfast is shared by the fire, each bite taken deliberately. Conversation is gentle, emphasizing observation, memory, and quiet storytelling rather than urgency or excitement. Villagers reflect on the simplicity of the present moment, the warmth of the hearth, the consistency of daily routine, and the protection offered by both community and environment. By midday, the light grows stronger, but the day retains its slow, steady cadence. Shadows stretch longer across snow-laden fields. Einar and a few companions head to the nearby woods for light gathering, moving carefully among trees laden with frost. Their steps compress snow softly, and their tools are handled with deliberate precision. The forest remains patient, observing, teaching, and providing without interruption. Einar pauses to rest beside a large pine, observing faint animal tracks in the snow. Each mark tells a subtle story, of movement, survival, and quiet life beneath winter's surface. The wind carries faint whispers, hinting at distant hills and hidden streams. These small observations fill him with a sense of connection, a gentle awareness that life continues in quiet harmony across every layer of the land. The afternoon drifts toward evening. Shadows lengthen further, colors soften, and the first hints of approaching night appear at the edges of the sky. Villagers return slowly to the longhouse, carrying gathered wood and supplies. The fire is prepared to welcome them, embers glowing steadily. Movement inside remains calm, deliberate, and soft, maintaining a serene, enduring atmosphere. As darkness gradually settles, the village becomes cocooned once again in the long, quiet embrace of winter night. Snow continues to fall lightly, muffling distant sounds and maintaining the illusion of isolation and peace. The longhouse glows with warmth, echoing softly the collective rhythm of breathing, rest, and quiet presence. Einar sits once more near the hearth, observing the dance of firelight and shadow. He reflects not on tasks completed or work ahead, but on the gentle unfolding of the day, the steady patience of the land, and the quiet strength that comes from enduring and observing. The northern night prepares to return, repeating the cycle that has sustained generations: stillness, warmth, awareness, and quiet rest. Night returns gently over Hrafnheim, bringing with it the familiar weight of stillness and calm. Snow has settled in fresh layers, smoothing all edges of the village and surrounding fields. The wooden roofs glimmer faintly under starlight, and smoke rises lazily from chimneys, disappearing into the vast, quiet sky. The world feels paused, as though time itself is breathing slowly, allowing every living being to rest deeply within the embrace of winter. Inside the longhouse, the embers glow steadily, radiating warmth throughout the room. Each flicker is gentle and rhythmic, resembling a heartbeat that keeps pace with the slow, shared breathing of the villagers. Shadows stretch and move in tandem with the flame, painting the walls with soft, slow patterns. The air is heavy with the comforting scents of pine smoke, dried grains, and wool, creating an atmosphere that encourages rest without interruption. Einar sits quietly near the hearth, letting the fire's warmth settle through his body. His shoulders are relaxed, his mind calm, and his awareness drifts without direction. Outside, the wind whispers softly across snow-covered fields, brushing lightly against frost-laden branches. Every sound is muted, absorbed by the heavy layers of snow, contributing to the village's cocoon of silence. A few villagers remain awake, performing small, deliberate tasks. One tends the embers, placing small pieces of wood with care. Another folds blankets for sleeping children. Every movement is slow, mindful, and unobtrusive, blending seamlessly into the calm of the night. There is no hurry, no urgency, only the steady pulse of care that keeps the longhouse alive and safe. The child resting near the fire stirs slightly, murmuring softly before returning to stillness. The gentle rhythms of breathing, the warmth of furs, and the comforting presence of others all guide the body toward deeper relaxation. Einar closes his eyes, allowing his awareness to drift between the present and the quiet landscapes of his imagination. In his mind, he walks through snow-laden forests where branches bow beneath frost, and the soft crunch of snow underfoot echoes faintly. Light filters through the trees in muted streams, creating delicate patterns across untouched snow. The forest feels alive yet patient, every creature moving with gentle purpose, conserving energy and maintaining harmony with the still environment. Beyond the forest, a frozen river glistens under moonlight, its surface smooth and pale. Beneath the ice, currents continue to move unseen, reminding the world that life persists quietly, even beneath still surfaces. The river's rhythm is subtle, steady, and uninterrupted, mirroring the calm endurance of the village itself. Time in this part of the night feels almost imperceptible. Minutes pass like slow waves, blending together into an endless flow of quiet awareness. Einar's body remains supported by warmth and rest, while his mind floats gently through imagery of endless snow, frozen fjords, and distant mountains, all bathed in the soft glow of pale starlight. Far above, stars continue their patient journey across the sky, steady and unwavering. Their light travels countless miles to reach the village, arriving with gentleness, unbroken by distance or time. This distant illumination reinforces a sense of connection, reminding the sleeping villagers that their quiet existence is part of a much larger, enduring system. The forest and surrounding hills continue their subtle nocturnal rhythms. Animals move slowly in hidden spaces, conserving energy and maintaining balance with the environment. Branches creak faintly, ice shifts subtly, and the wind hums softly through pine needles. Every sound blends naturally into the quiet symphony of winter night, supporting the ongoing calm rather than interrupting it. Inside, the longhouse's warmth and light maintain a perfect equilibrium. Shadows flicker softly, providing visual interest without overstimulation. The fire radiates steady heat, sufficient to maintain comfort while encouraging deep relaxation. Einar's attention drifts in and out of awareness, sometimes focusing on the fire, sometimes observing the snow outside, and sometimes floating freely within the mind's gentle landscape. Eventually, deeper dreams begin to form. He imagines walking along the edge of a frozen lake, where ice meets dark water, and pale light reflects softly across the surface. Each step is deliberate and unhurried, leaving temporary imprints that fade almost immediately beneath the falling snow. The experience is peaceful, slow, and meditative, providing the mind with restorative imagery. Dreams shift smoothly from the lake to vast open fields, where snow stretches endlessly beneath pale skies. Movement is slow, deliberate, and weightless. Clouds drift lazily above, casting muted shadows on the ground. There is no urgency, no threat, only the persistent calm of space and time. Einar's imagination flows with the rhythm of the land, offering a perfect environment for deep, restorative rest. The hours pass unmeasured. The village continues to breathe as a single living organism, warm, quiet, and steady. Every person contributes to the overall rhythm through subtle presence, slow movement, and deliberate care. Outside, the wilderness maintains its own pulse, synchronized in an unspoken harmony with human life. As the night drifts closer to its deepest hours, even the faint suggestion of approaching dawn remains distant. The world rests fully, suspended between darkness and eventual light. Snow continues to fall softly, covering footprints, smoothing edges, and preserving silence. Every element, fire, snow, wind, forest, river, mountains, participates in the slow, steady unfolding of time. Einar's body sinks further into relaxation. Breathing becomes almost imperceptible, muscles soft, and mind free from tension. Awareness drifts, gently guided by the rhythm of night, the warmth of the hearth, and the quiet presence of those around him. Sleep deepens, restorative and calm, aligning perfectly with the patient endurance of winter. The Viking winter night continues its quiet dominion, holding the village, its people, and the surrounding wilderness in a gentle, steady embrace. Time moves without pressure. Life persists without urgency. Rest flows naturally, uninterrupted, and infinitely. The night remains unbroken, stretching across the village and surrounding forests with steady patience. Hrafnheim sleeps beneath a heavy blanket of snow, its rooftops softened and muted, chimneys sending up thin spirals of smoke that vanish into the clear, cold sky. The air is still, carrying only the faintest whispers of wind that brush gently against trees and distant hills. Every sound is absorbed, creating a sense of isolation that is both protective and serene. Inside the longhouse, embers glow in quiet continuity, radiating soft heat and light into every corner. The flames flicker gently, not to startle, but to provide a steady pulse that aligns naturally with breathing and awareness. Villagers remain mostly asleep, heads resting on furs, arms relaxed, eyes closed. A few awaken briefly, stretching slowly and sighing softly before returning to stillness. There is no hurry here, no pressure, only the steady rhythm of life in winter. Einar remains near the hearth, observing shadows shift gently across the walls. The faint orange glow contrasts softly against pale starlight seeping through small windows. His mind drifts easily, guided by patterns of light, warmth, and sound rather than active thought. The rhythm of breathing, the slow crackle of embers, and the whisper of wind outside all converge into a harmonious, meditative space. Outside, snowflakes drift in slow spirals, each one unique, settling softly on roofs, trees, and the frozen ground. Paths that were once marked by footprints are smoothed again, leaving the village as a nearly untouched expanse of white. The forest beyond holds its quiet vigil, branches bending beneath frost, hiding small movements of nocturnal animals. Each creature acts with deliberate care, conserving energy and maintaining balance within the frozen ecosystem. The fjord glimmers faintly under the moonlight, its surface frozen yet subtly alive beneath a layer of ice. Hidden currents continue their gentle movement, producing a faint whisper beneath the still exterior. The fjord's calm energy mirrors the village itself, steady, enduring, patient. Einar imagines walking across its ice, feeling weightless and free, each step measured and meditative. The cold is present but not harsh, a reminder that winter's grip is both stern and protective. The longhouse remains a sanctuary of warmth and continuity. A caretaker stirs gently to adjust blankets around a sleeping child, ensuring comfort without disturbing the surrounding stillness. Tiny acts like these create invisible threads of care that tie the inhabitants together into a shared rhythm of presence and calm. Each movement is deliberate, measured, and in harmony with the overarching serenity of the night. Einar's mind begins to drift into dream imagery, forming slow, vivid landscapes that are both expansive and intimate. He imagines walking through endless snow-covered plains where muted light casts soft gradients across the horizon. Trees rise in distant lines, their forms softened by frost and distance. The wind moves gently across the landscape, carrying the faint scent of pine and ice. These dream scenes flow seamlessly, each one dissolving into the next, creating a continuous river of calm imagery. A frozen river winds through these imagined landscapes, reflecting pale starlight and faint moonbeams. Its surface is unbroken, smooth, and translucent, concealing gentle currents beneath. Einar senses life continuing beneath the ice, quiet yet persistent. This hidden movement mirrors the resilience of the village itself, where endurance and patience sustain life even under winter's oppressive stillness. Snow continues to fall outside, layering softness upon softness. The air carries a faint crispness that invigorates without harshness, adding clarity to perception while maintaining calm. The forest remains vigilant, still yet active in subtle ways. Small animals navigate their hidden shelters, birds move from branch to branch, and the wind traces soft, audible paths across frozen branches. All these actions are deliberate and quiet, contributing to the overarching harmony of winter night. Inside, Einar observes the interplay of light, shadow, and warmth. Embers shift slowly in the hearth, casting ever-changing patterns on walls and ceilings. Every flicker becomes an anchor, guiding attention back to the present, allowing thought to rest and dissipate naturally. The human presence within the longhouse, sleeping, breathing, and resting, blends seamlessly with these natural rhythms, creating a cocoon of calm energy. Time feels suspended, unmeasured, flowing as a gentle continuum rather than segmented hours. The body releases tension, the mind releases thought, and awareness merges with ambient warmth and light. Sleep deepens gradually, restorative and complete. Dreams arise slowly, presenting landscapes of snow-laden hills, pale rivers, and distant mountains, all under a steady, muted sky. Each image is soft-edged, fluid, and slow-moving, allowing mental rest without stimulation. The northern night sky stretches endlessly above. Stars trace imperceptible arcs across the heavens, maintaining their patient course. Their light arrives after journeys of countless years, falling softly on the snow and illuminating the village with a calm, enduring presence. Einar feels connected to both the immediate world and this vast, timeless expanse above, a dual sense of intimacy and awe that deepens his sense of rest. By the late hours, even the softest movements are rare. Snow continues to layer itself invisibly, the forest holds its quiet vigil, and the fjord rests undisturbed. Within the longhouse, warm air and soft shadows combine with steady breathing to create a fully immersive environment of calm and security. Einar and all villagers exist as a single living rhythm, coordinated, gentle, and timeless. The night unfolds slowly, deliberately, endlessly. Time moves not in hurried moments but in the quiet accumulation of patient, deliberate, and harmonious action. The winter night teaches endurance, awareness, and serenity. All is held in balance: snow, wind, fire, forest, water, and human presence. Together, they form a single ecosystem of calm and patience, an unbroken chain of continuity stretching through hours of darkness. The night deepens further, and Hrafnheim rests like a single breathing entity beneath the weight of winter. Snow drifts silently over fields, roofs, and frozen paths, smoothing every corner of the village into gentle, seamless white. The air is crisp, carrying a faint scent of pine, frozen earth, and distant wood smoke. Every sound is absorbed, every movement softened, creating a world that feels suspended between breaths. Inside the longhouse, the fire burns low but steady, its glow radiating warmth that seeps slowly into bones and muscles. Embers pulse faintly like a quiet heartbeat, and the shadows they cast drift lazily across the walls, responding to the slow dance of light. Villagers sleep in heavy furs, breathing in rhythmic patterns that echo softly, blending with the low crackle of wood and the occasional sigh of wind outside. Einar sits close to the hearth, partially awake, partially drifting in that border space between consciousness and dream. The warmth penetrates slowly, reaching deep into muscles stiffened by cold, easing tension with each passing minute. He observes faint movements around him, a caretaker adjusting a blanket here, a child murmuring in sleep there, all contributing to a delicate harmony that fills the room. Beyond the walls, the forest stands like patient guardians. Frost-laden branches bend slightly under their own weight, occasionally releasing a whispering cascade of snow. Hidden animals shift in quiet dens, conserving energy and navigating with careful precision. Even the distant mountains appear still yet alive, their frozen peaks observing the night with silent endurance. Einar imagines walking outside, feeling the crisp snow beneath boots and the gentle bite of cold against his cheeks. Each step produces a soft, fleeting echo, instantly muffled by fresh snowfall. The moonlight reflects faintly on the smooth surfaces, creating subtle gradients of pale blue and white. The world is slow, soft, and entirely still, allowing every step to feel deliberate and meditative. He approaches the fjord, frozen and glass-like beneath the northern sky. Cracks and fissures in the ice trace delicate, natural patterns, whispering the hidden movement of water beneath. The fjord seems almost alive, breathing quietly under its frozen surface. Einar pauses, listening to the faint sigh of wind against ice and snow, absorbing the patient rhythm of this hidden life. Inside, villagers perform small, deliberate tasks, though most remain in deep rest. A few adjust embers, maintaining warmth without interruption. A kettle simmers softly near the hearth, carrying faint steam and the gentle scent of grains. Every action is slow, mindful, and harmonious, supporting the shared rhythm of calm and presence within the longhouse. Einar drifts further into dreams, where he walks across wide snow-covered plains. Soft clouds stretch across the sky, moving lazily in faint light. The landscape is endless and quiet, each step echoing slightly, fading immediately into snow. Trees rise at the horizon, softened by frost and distance, moving gently in the occasional whisper of wind. There is no urgency, no tension, only the quiet pulse of life and observation. A frozen river winds through the dreamscape, pale and unbroken under the moonlight. Beneath its ice, currents move quietly, reminding him that life continues even beneath still surfaces. This duality, stillness above, movement below, mirrors the village itself, where patience, endurance, and quiet observation sustain life throughout the long winter months. Snow continues its slow descent outside, layering softness upon softness. The wind hums gently through pine needles and over frozen rooftops. Distant hills absorb all movement, holding the night in perfect stillness. Even stars above maintain a subtle, unwavering glow, connecting the village to the larger, enduring universe. Within the longhouse, Einar's attention drifts between firelight, snow outside, and the fluid imagery of his dreams. Embers flicker softly, shadows move lazily, and the warmth of the hearth reaches deep into resting bodies. Sleep deepens gradually, restorative and complete. Dreams carry landscapes of snow-laden forests, frozen rivers, and distant mountains, all illuminated by soft starlight and muted moonlight. Each image flows seamlessly into the next, creating a continuous, calming river of mental imagery. The village breathes as one entity, quiet, coordinated, and steady. Every individual contributes subtly, warm air, measured movement, and mindful presence combine to form a cocoon of calm energy. Outside, the wilderness maintains its own pulse, hidden animals, swaying branches, soft whispers of wind, and distant, silent currents beneath ice. All elements coexist in patient, unhurried harmony. Time loses its usual markers. Hours drift slowly, measured only by subtle changes in light, warmth, and rhythm. The body softens, the mind releases tension, and awareness blends into the ambient calm. Each moment flows naturally into the next, uninterrupted by haste or concern. Sleep and consciousness intertwine, forming a deep, restorative equilibrium. By the deepest hours of night, Hrafnheim and its surrounding landscape remain still and serene. Snow layers continue to accumulate gently, muffling distant sounds. The forest remains vigilant yet undisturbed. The fjord rests, calm and concealed beneath frozen surfaces. Mountains observe silently. Stars trace imperceptible paths overhead, offering patient illumination. The village and wilderness exist in a single, unbroken rhythm of quiet endurance. Einar's dreams shift into subtle imagery of dawn approaching. Pale hints of light begin to touch distant clouds, though the sky remains mostly dark. The change is gentle, almost imperceptible, signaling the eventual return of day without disturbing the current state of rest. Time flows unhurriedly, life continues calmly, and winter teaches patience, harmony, and endurance. The northern night holds everything: village, people, animals, forest, river, mountains, and sky, in a unified, quiet embrace. The world rests, uninterrupted, endlessly, in the patient rhythm of winter. The early hours of the night continue to unfold gently, stretching across Hrafnheim with the steady rhythm of winter. Snow blankets the village, muting every sound and smoothing the contours of roofs, pathways, and fields. Each flake settles softly, creating layers upon layers of pure white, a quiet testament to the patience of the season. The air is crisp but not harsh, carrying faint scents of pine, frozen earth, and distant smoke that drift lazily across the silent village. Inside the longhouse, the embers glow steadily in the hearth, casting soft, gentle light across walls and wooden beams. Shadows move slowly, stretching and shrinking as the fire breathes. The warmth penetrates deeply into every resting body, providing comfort and a sense of security. Villagers breathe in a slow, unified rhythm, creating a soft chorus of life that blends seamlessly with the quiet crackle of the fire and the faint whisper of wind outside. Einar sits near the hearth, partially awake, partially drifting in that border space between consciousness and dreams. He feels the warmth reach his muscles, releasing tension slowly and methodically. Every small sound, the faint creak of timber, the sigh of wind through the forest, the soft rustle of blankets, is absorbed into the overall quiet, becoming part of a gentle symphony of rest. Outside, the forest remains vigilant yet calm. Frosted branches bend gently under the weight of snow, occasionally releasing small cascades that fall silently to the ground. Hidden animals move carefully in their dens, conserving energy and maintaining balance in their hidden world. The mountains in the distance stand silent, eternal observers of the village and forest below, their frozen peaks glowing faintly under pale starlight. Einar's mind drifts further into dreams. He walks slowly across wide snow-covered plains where muted light casts soft gradients across the horizon. Trees rise faintly in the distance, softened by frost and moonlight. The wind moves gently across the landscape, carrying the faint scent of pine and earth. Each step he takes is deliberate, measured, and calm. The dream itself flows without conflict or tension, offering the mind a place of rest and reflection. A frozen river winds through the dreamscape, reflecting pale starlight in smooth, uninterrupted surfaces. Beneath the ice, currents continue their quiet movement, reminding him that life persists even beneath stillness. This subtle duality mirrors the village itself: above, calm and frozen; below, steady and alive. Einar feels connected to both, observing without urgency, immersed in patient observation. Snow continues to fall outside, each flake soft and light. The wind hums faintly through pine needles, brushing against rooftops and frozen fields. Even the stars above seem steady, their light unwavering and consistent. The village, the forest, the fjord, and the mountains exist together in a quiet, unbroken rhythm, a world held by patient stillness. Within the longhouse, the warmth of the hearth combines with the gentle shadows to create an environment conducive to deep rest. Einar's attention shifts fluidly between the fire, the slow drift of snow outside, and the imagery of his dreams. Embers flicker softly, shadows move lazily, and every breath taken deepens the sense of calm. Sleep deepens naturally, restorative and uninterrupted. Time becomes imperceptible. Minutes flow slowly, blending seamlessly with hours. The body softens, muscles release tension, and the mind relaxes completely. Awareness drifts fluidly, moving in sync with warmth, light, and ambient sounds. Dreams carry him across snowy forests, frozen rivers, and distant mountains, each scene flowing into the next without sharp transitions. The experience is meditative, calming, and restorative. The village breathes as a single living organism, quiet, coordinated, and steady. Each person contributes subtly to the collective rhythm. Slow movements, warm presence, and mindful care create a seamless cocoon of calm. Outside, nature maintains its own rhythm. Hidden animals, shifting branches, soft wind, and gentle currents under ice all coexist in harmony with human life. As the night reaches its deepest hours, snow layers continue to accumulate, muffling distant sounds and softening every surface. The forest remains vigilant yet still, animals resting in hidden dens. The fjord lies calm beneath ice, mountains stand silent, and the stars trace imperceptible arcs overhead. The entire landscape exists in patient, deliberate, unbroken rhythm. Einar drifts even deeper into restorative sleep. Dreams shift fluidly, showing images of dawn approaching. Pale light begins to touch distant clouds, signaling the slow arrival of morning without disturbing the current calm. Time flows unhurriedly, life continues in quiet harmony, and winter imparts lessons of patience, endurance, and serenity. The night holds all in a gentle embrace: village, forest, fjord, mountains, sky, and all living beings. Everything exists in harmony, flowing steadily through the patient rhythm of the Viking winter. The world is still, calm, and infinitely enduring. The night stretches onward, deep and unbroken, across Hrafnheim and the surrounding frozen landscape. Snow drifts slowly, settling upon rooftops, fields, and pathways, smoothing every surface with layers of soft white. The air carries the faint, crisp scent of pine, frozen earth, and distant wood smoke, blending into a calm, almost tactile stillness. Every sound seems absorbed into the heavy quiet, creating a cocoon of serenity that envelopes both village and wilderness alike. Inside the longhouse, embers glow steadily, radiating warmth that reaches deeply into every resting body. The flames flicker gently, their soft rhythm mirroring slow breathing, creating shadows that stretch lazily across the walls and ceiling. Villagers lie wrapped in furs, breathing in calm synchronization, their presence a quiet chorus that complements the soft crackle of wood and the faint whisper of wind outside. Einar sits close to the hearth, half awake, half drifting in the border between consciousness and dream. The warmth seeps into his muscles, easing tension with each heartbeat. His attention floats slowly, resting on the interplay of firelight and shadow, the muted snowfall outside, and the quiet rhythm of breathing around him. There is no urgency, no need for movement or thought, only the steady, comforting flow of awareness. Outside, the forest stands patient and still. Frosted branches sway gently under the weight of snow, occasionally shedding small cascades that settle silently on the ground. Hidden animals move carefully in dens or under brush, conserving energy and navigating cautiously. Mountains loom in the distance, silent and eternal, their peaks touched by faint moonlight, watching over the village with timeless calm. Einar imagines stepping outside, feeling the crisp snow beneath his boots and the gentle bite of cold against his cheeks. Each step produces a soft echo, muffled almost immediately by fresh snow. The moonlight creates subtle patterns across the landscape, highlighting gentle slopes, clusters of trees, and frozen rivers. Every movement feels deliberate, meditative, and perfectly synchronized with the slow pulse of the environment. He approaches the fjord, frozen and mirror-like beneath the pale starlight. Thin cracks trace delicate, natural patterns across the ice, revealing glimpses of hidden currents below. The fjord seems alive yet calm, its quiet energy mirrored in the rhythm of the village itself. Einar pauses to absorb the subtle motion, listening to the faint sigh of wind and the distant hush of snow settling across the valley. Inside, villagers continue gentle, deliberate actions, tending embers, arranging blankets, or simply breathing in sync with the shared rhythm of presence. Each gesture is slow, purposeful, and harmonious, contributing to the overall atmosphere of calm. Even small movements, like adjusting a child's fur blanket or adding a few grains to a simmering pot, carry deliberate care that reinforces the sense of stability and safety. Einar's dreams drift naturally, forming vast snowy landscapes where muted light stretches across endless plains. Trees rise at the horizon, softened by frost and distance. Wind drifts lazily across the ground, carrying the faint scent of pine and frozen soil. Every step he takes is deliberate, weightless, and harmonious. The dream unfolds in a slow, continuous river of imagery, calming the mind and allowing deep, restorative rest. A frozen river winds through his dreamscape, reflecting faint starlight and the glow of distant moonbeams. Beneath its icy surface, hidden currents move slowly, reminding him that life persists even in stillness. This duality mirrors the village itself, calm and frozen above, quietly active beneath the surface. Einar feels attuned to both worlds, observing without urgency, fully immersed in patient awareness. Snow continues its gentle descent outside. Wind brushes softly through pine needles and across rooftops. Distant hills absorb all motion, maintaining perfect stillness. Stars overhead trace imperceptible paths, their light constant and unwavering, connecting the village to a broader, enduring universe. The longhouse remains a sanctuary of warmth, light, and calm. Embers flicker in a gentle rhythm, shadows drift lazily, and every breath deepens the sense of serenity. Sleep becomes deeper, more restorative, allowing body and mind to release tension fully. Dreams carry Einar across snow-laden forests, frozen rivers, and distant mountains, each scene flowing smoothly into the next without sudden change. The village exists as a single living rhythm, coordinated, calm, and enduring. Every individual contributes subtly through measured movement, warmth, and mindful presence, creating a unified cocoon of restorative energy. Outside, the wilderness maintains its own pulse, animals shift in hidden dens, branches sway, wind hums, and currents move quietly beneath ice. All elements coexist in a patient, unbroken harmony. As the night reaches its deepest hours, snow continues to accumulate, muffling distant sounds and softening edges. The forest remains vigilant but calm. The fjord rests beneath frozen surfaces. Mountains observe silently. Stars continue their patient arcs. Hrafnheim, the surrounding land, and all living creatures exist together in a slow, deliberate rhythm of endurance and rest. Einar drifts further into restorative sleep. His dreams merge gently with reality, forming a seamless field of calm and quiet. Pale hints of dawn begin to touch distant clouds, signaling the eventual return of day, though the current calm is undisturbed. Time flows slowly, life continues in quiet harmony, and winter teaches lessons of patience, endurance, and serenity. The Viking night holds everything: village, forest, fjord, mountains, sky, and all living beings, in an unbroken, patient embrace. The world rests, uninterrupted, and infinitely enduring, flowing gently through the rhythm of the northern winter. The night stretches on, vast and unbroken, as Hrafnheim rests beneath the thick, soft blanket of winter snow. Snowflakes descend slowly from a sky veiled in pale starlight, each one unique, tracing delicate, random paths before settling upon rooftops, trees, and frozen ground. The air is crisp and still, carrying the faint, comforting sense of pine, frozen earth, and distant smoke. Every sound is softened, absorbed, or muted, creating an environment of profound calm and quiet continuity. Inside the longhouse, embers glow in the hearth, radiating gentle warmth that spreads slowly through the room. Shadows move lazily along walls and beams, flickering in harmony with the quiet pulse of firelight. Villagers lie wrapped in thick furs, breathing in slow, rhythmic patterns that echo the gentle cadence of life around them. Each inhalation and exhalation blends with the soft crackle of wood, the whisper of wind through snow, and the occasional sigh of a resting child. Einar sits by the fire, half awake and half drifting in the space between consciousness and dream. The warmth seeps into his muscles, releasing tension with each slow heartbeat. His awareness floats freely, observing subtle movements of shadows, the quiet flow of snow outside, and the soft, measured breathing of those around him. There is no need for action, only patient observation and acceptance of stillness. Outside, the forest remains still yet alive. Frosted branches bend gently under the weight of snow, occasionally releasing soft cascades that fall silently to the ground. Hidden animals navigate their dens and shelters with deliberate caution, conserving energy and maintaining balance in the frozen landscape. The distant mountains stand tall and eternal, their peaks kissed faintly by starlight, watching over the village with a calm, unchanging presence. Einar imagined stepping outside, feeling the soft crunch of snow beneath his boots and the gentle bite of cold against his cheeks. The moonlight creates pale reflections on the smooth snow, highlighting subtle contours of rooftops, trees, and frozen rivers. Each movement is slow, deliberate, and meditative. He pauses often, listening to the faint sigh of wind, the distant settling of snow, and the subtle rhythm of life continuing quietly all around. The frozen fjord glimmers faintly beneath moonlight, cracks tracing delicate patterns across its smooth surface. Hidden beneath, water continues its slow, quiet movement, a gentle undercurrent of life beneath apparent stillness. The fjord mirrors the village, outwardly calm, inwardly sustaining. Einar feels a sense of unity with this balance, observing without hurry or expectation, fully immersed in patient awareness. Within the longhouse, the remaining villagers move slowly, performing small, deliberate tasks, adjusting furs, tending embers, stirring grains in a simmering pot. Every action is mindful, harmonious, and unobtrusive, preserving the overall rhythm of calm. Even the smallest gestures, like shifting a blanket over a sleeping child, contribute to a seamless pattern of care and presence, reinforcing the sense of security and comfort. Einar drifts further into dream space, moving through vast snow-laden plains where soft light creates gentle gradients across the horizon. Trees stand distant and muted, softened by frost and shadow. The wind drifts lightly, carrying the faint scent of pine and ice. Each step is measured and weightless, providing a sense of deliberate, mindful progression. The dream unfolds continuously, flowing smoothly without sharp transitions, allowing deep, restorative mental rest. A frozen river winds through these dream landscapes, pale and smooth under starlight. Beneath the ice, currents flow silently, sustaining life even in the absence of visible movement. This duality reflects the village itself, above, calm and frozen, beneath, quietly active. Einar senses this balance and moves with awareness, observing without urgency or distraction. Snow continues to fall outside, adding layer upon layer of softness. The wind hums gently through pine branches, across rooftops, and over frozen fields. Distant hills absorb motion, maintaining perfect stillness. Stars overhead trace imperceptible arcs, their light steady, constant, and connecting the village to a vast, enduring universe. The longhouse remains a sanctuary of calm, warmth, and gentle light. Embers flicker, shadows drift, and every breath deepens the sense of serenity. Sleep deepens naturally, becoming restorative and complete. Dreams carry Einar through snow-laden forests, frozen rivers, and distant mountains, each scene flowing seamlessly into the next, allowing uninterrupted mental rest. The village breathes as one living organism, coordinated, calm, and steady. Each person contributes subtly, measured movements, warmth, and mindful presence combine to form a cocoon of restorative energy. Outside, the natural world maintains its own pulse, hidden animals, swaying branches, soft winds, and currents under ice all coexist in patient harmony. As the night continues, snow accumulates softly, muffling sounds and smoothing edges. The forest remains calm, the fjord rests beneath ice, mountains observe silently, and stars continue their patient arcs overhead. Hrafnheim and its surrounding land exist together in a slow, deliberate, and unbroken rhythm of endurance, rest, and continuity. Einar drifts ever deeper into restorative sleep. Dreams merge fluidly with awareness, creating a seamless field of calm and quiet. Pale hints of dawn begin touching distant clouds, signaling the eventual return of day, though the present stillness remains undisturbed. Time flows slowly, life continues harmoniously, and winter teaches patience, endurance, and serenity. The Viking winter night holds all, village, forest, fjord, mountains, sky, and living beings, in a unified, patient embrace. The world rests, uninterrupted, infinitely enduring, and flowing gently through the rhythm of the northern winter. The night lingers over Hrafnheim, calm and unbroken, as snow continues to settle gently across rooftops, fields, and forests. Each flake falls with a quiet precision, layering softly upon the last, creating a seamless, white expanse that blankets the village in stillness. The air carries the crisp scent of frozen earth, pine, and distant smoke, flowing softly into every corner of the landscape. Each sound is muted, absorbed by snow and shadow, allowing the night to exist in near-perfect silence. Inside the longhouse, the hearth glows steadily, casting soft warmth throughout the room. Embers pulse faintly, like a slow, measured heartbeat, while shadows drift lazily across walls and beams. Villagers lie wrapped in thick furs, their breathing slow and synchronized, blending seamlessly with the faint crackle of wood and the subtle sigh of wind outside. Each gentle sound contributes to a unified rhythm of calm and safety. Einar rests near the hearth, partially awake, partially adrift in the border between wakefulness and dream. Heat seeps into his muscles, dissolving tension gradually. His mind floats freely, observing the flicker of firelight, the soft fall of snow beyond the windows, and the slow, gentle breathing of those around him. There is no urgency, only the quiet pulse of existence, the serene continuity of winter life. Beyond the longhouse, the forest stands patient and vigilant. Frost-laden branches sway gently under their own weight, occasionally shedding small cascades of snow that settle silently. Hidden animals move carefully in their dens, conserving energy and maintaining balance within the frozen ecosystem. Mountains loom in the distance, eternal and silent, their peaks glimmering faintly beneath starlight, watching over the village with unchanging calm. Einar imagines walking outside, feeling the soft crunch of snow beneath his boots and the gentle, invigorating bite of cold air. The moonlight reflects softly across the landscape, highlighting rooftops, trees, and frozen streams. Each step is measured and deliberate, meditative in its rhythm. He pauses frequently, listening to the subtle sounds of winter, the distant settling of snow, the sigh of wind, the faint echo of life moving slowly and carefully in hidden places. The frozen fjord glimmers under pale moonlight, cracks forming delicate, intricate patterns across its icy surface. Beneath the ice, currents flow quietly, sustaining life unseen. The fjord mirrors the village, calm and still above, quietly active beneath. Einar senses harmony between these worlds, observing without haste, fully immersed in a patient rhythm of life. Inside, villagers perform small, deliberate tasks without disturbing the overall calm, tending embers, adjusting blankets, or stirring slowly simmering pots. Each movement is mindful, purposeful, and harmonious, maintaining the longhouse as a sanctuary of warmth, light, and presence. Even subtle gestures, like covering a child's face with a fur blanket or quietly shifting a log in the fire, contribute to the peaceful equilibrium. Einar drifts deeper into dream imagery, walking across wide, snow-covered plains where muted light creates soft gradients across the horizon. Distant trees stand softened by frost, shadows stretching lightly across the ground. A gentle wind carries the faint scent of pine and ice. Each step is weightless, deliberate, and calm. The dream flows in a continuous, slow current of restorative images, allowing the mind to rest deeply. A frozen river meanders through the dreamscape, pale and smooth under starlight. Beneath the ice, hidden currents continue their quiet journey. This hidden activity mirrors the village itself, outwardly calm, inwardly sustaining. Einar feels connected to both worlds, observing with gentle awareness, fully immersed in patience and stillness. Outside, snow continues its soft descent, layering the landscape in gentle, muffled quiet. Wind hums faintly through pine branches, across rooftops, and over frozen fields. Even distant hills maintain perfect stillness, absorbing all subtle movements. Stars above trace imperceptible paths, steady and unwavering, connecting the village to the larger universe. Within the longhouse, firelight continues its gentle rhythm, shadows drifting lazily, and every breath deepens the restorative calm. Sleep becomes gradual, restorative, and unbroken. Dreams carry Einar through snow-laden forests, frozen rivers, and distant mountains, flowing seamlessly without interruption or sharp transitions, allowing profound mental and physical rest. The village breathes as one organism, calm, coordinated, and steady. Each individual contributes subtly through measured movements, warmth, and mindfulness, forming a unified cocoon of restorative energy. Outside, the natural world maintains its own rhythm. Hidden animals, swaying branches, gentle winds, and under-ice currents all coexist in patient harmony with human life. As the night deepens, snow accumulates silently, muffling distant sounds and softening edges. The forest remains calm, the fjord rests beneath ice, mountains watch silently, and stars continue their slow, steady paths overhead. Hrafnheim and its surrounding land exist together in a patient, deliberate, unbroken rhythm of endurance, rest, and continuity. Einar drifts even further into restorative sleep. Dreams and awareness merge seamlessly, forming a field of calm and quiet. Pale hints of dawn touch distant clouds, signaling the eventual return of day without disturbing the current stillness. Time flows slowly, life continues harmoniously, and winter imparts lessons of patience, endurance, and serenity. The Viking winter night holds all: village, forest, fjord, mountains, sky, and living beings, in a unified, patient embrace. The world rests, uninterrupted, infinitely enduring, and flows gently through the rhythm of the northern winter. The village of Hrafnheim remains cocooned in quiet winter darkness. Snow drifts slowly over rooftops and frozen fields, forming smooth, unbroken layers that reflect faint moonlight. The air is crisp, carrying a faint scent of pine, wood smoke, and frozen earth, moving softly through the silent village. Every sound is muted by snow and shadow, creating a cocoon of calm that extends to the surrounding forest and distant mountains. Inside the longhouse, embers glow softly in the hearth, radiating warmth that spreads slowly through every body. Shadows stretch lazily along walls and timber beams, flickering gently with the rhythm of the fire. Villagers lie wrapped in furs, breathing in calm, synchronized patterns, their gentle sighs blending with the faint crackle of wood and the whisper of the wind outside. Each breath, each sound, becomes part of the harmonious rhythm of night. Einar rests near the hearth, drifting between wakefulness and dream. The warmth penetrates deep into muscles and joints, releasing tension with every heartbeat. His mind floats slowly, observing the interplay of firelight, shadows, and the muted snowfall outside. There is no rush, no urgency, only the gentle pulse of life and presence, steady and enduring. Outside, the forest stands patient and still. Frosted branches sway lightly under the weight of snow, occasionally releasing tiny cascades that settle quietly to the ground. Animals move softly in hidden dens, conserving energy and maintaining harmony with their environment. Mountains loom in the distance, eternal and silent, their peaks faintly illuminated by starlight. The entire wilderness moves with deliberate, unhurried rhythm. Einar imagines stepping outside. Snow crunches softly under his boots, and the air carries a clean, invigorating chill. Moonlight reflects gently across frozen rivers and treetops. Every step is slow, measured, and meditative. The landscape is silent, the stillness almost tangible. The distant wind hums softly, brushing over the snow, adding a subtle, continuous music to the scene. He approaches the fjord, its surface smooth, icy, and pale under starlight. Cracks in the ice form delicate, natural patterns. Beneath the frozen layer, water flows quietly, sustaining life unseen. The fjord mirrors the village itself, calm above, quietly active below. Einar pauses, listening to the faint sigh of wind and settling snow, feeling connected to this patient, enduring rhythm. Inside, villagers continue small, mindful movements. Embers are adjusted, blankets arranged, and small pots stirred slowly. Every action is deliberate and careful, maintaining warmth and harmony. Even minor gestures, like covering a sleeping child with a fur or adding a few pieces of wood to the fire, contribute to a balanced, restorative rhythm throughout the longhouse. Einar drifts deeper into dreams, wandering across vast snow-covered plains. Light is muted, creating gentle gradients across distant horizons. Trees stand softened by frost and shadow. The wind drifts lightly across the ground, carrying faint scents of pine and ice. Each step is weightless and deliberate. Dreams flow slowly, continuously, creating a calm, restorative mental landscape. A frozen river winds through these dreamscapes, smooth and pale under moonlight. Beneath the ice, currents continue their quiet journey. This hidden activity reflects the village above, calm and seemingly still, but alive in quiet ways. Einar feels attuned to both worlds, observing with gentle awareness, fully immersed in patient stillness. Snow continues to fall outside, layering softly upon the landscape. Wind brushes faintly through pine branches, across rooftops, and over frozen fields. Distant hills absorb all motion, maintaining perfect calm. Stars trace imperceptible arcs across the sky, steady and constant, linking the village to the enduring universe beyond. The longhouse is a sanctuary of warmth, calm, and soft light. Embers flicker in a gentle rhythm, shadows drift slowly, and every breath taken deepens the restorative calm. Sleep deepens naturally, uninterrupted, and restorative. Dreams carry Einar through snow-laden forests, frozen rivers, and distant mountains, each scene flowing smoothly into the next, allowing deep mental and physical rest. The village breathes as a single organism, quiet, coordinated, and steady. Each inhabitant contributes subtly to the collective rhythm. Measured movements, warmth, and mindful attention form a unified cocoon of calm energy. Outside, the natural world maintains its own pulse. Hidden animals, swaying branches, gentle winds, and under-ice currents coexist in perfect harmony with human life. As the night stretches onward, snow accumulates softly, muffling distant sounds and smoothing the edges of the landscape. The forest remains still, the fjord rests beneath its icy surface, mountains stand silent, and stars continue their patient arcs above. Hrafnheim and its surroundings exist in a deliberate, unbroken rhythm of endurance, rest, and continuity. Einar drifts further into restorative sleep. Dreams and awareness merge, forming a seamless field of calm and quiet. Pale hints of dawn begin touching distant clouds, signaling the eventual return of day without disturbing the present stillness. Time flows slowly, life continues harmoniously, and winter imparts lessons of patience, endurance, and serenity. The Viking winter night holds all, village, forest, fjord, mountains, sky, and living beings, in a unified, patient embrace. The world rests, uninterrupted, endlessly enduring, and flowing gently through the rhythm of northern winter. As the night moves deeper into its silent hours, Hrafnheim rests completely beneath the heavy blanket of winter snow. Every roof, tree, and pathway is smoothed by layers of soft white, reflecting the faint light of the moon and stars. The air is still and crisp, carrying subtle scents of pine, frozen earth, and distant smoke. The quiet is absolute, almost tactile, enveloping the village, forest, fjord, and distant mountains in a cocoon of serenity. Inside the longhouse, the embers of the hearth glow steadily, radiating warmth into every resting body. Shadows stretch lazily across walls and beams, moving gently with the firelight. Villagers lie wrapped in furs, breathing slowly and evenly, their quiet rhythm blending with the soft crackle of wood and the faint hum of winter wind outside. Each breath, each movement, becomes part of a gentle, harmonious symphony of life. Einar drifts near the hearth, hovering between wakefulness and dream. The heat penetrates deep into his muscles, easing tension and inviting complete relaxation. His awareness floats gently over the soft interplay of firelight, snow outside, and slow, rhythmic breathing. There is no need for thought or action, only patient, calm presence. Outside, the forest remains vigilant yet still. Frosted branches bend slightly under the weight of snow, occasionally releasing delicate cascades that settle softly. Hidden animals move quietly, conserving energy and maintaining harmony within the frozen landscape. The distant mountains stand silent and eternal, their peaks faintly illuminated by starlight, watching over the village with unchanging calm. Einar imagines stepping outside. Snow crunches softly under his boots, and the cold air carries a clean, refreshing bite. Moonlight reflects gently across frozen rivers and fields, illuminating the smooth, unbroken landscape. Each step feels meditative, deliberate, and weightless. The faint wind hums over snow and ice, creating a subtle, continuous music that blends with the silence. The fjord glimmers under pale moonlight, its surface smooth and frozen. Thin cracks trace delicate, intricate patterns across the ice, hinting at the slow, hidden currents beneath. The fjord mirrors the village itself, still on the surface, quietly active below. Einar pauses, listening to the soft sigh of wind and the gentle settling of snow, feeling in tune with the enduring rhythm of life around him. Within the longhouse, villagers continue subtle, mindful movements, adjusting blankets, tending embers, stirring slowly simmering pots. Every action is deliberate, preserving warmth and harmony. Even small gestures, covering a sleeping child with a fur or adding a few logs to the fire, reinforce the overall sense of calm and security. Einar drifts further into dreamscapes, walking across endless snow-covered plains where muted light stretches across distant horizons. Trees rise faintly, softened by frost and shadow. A gentle wind drifts across the ground, carrying the scent of pine and ice. Every step is deliberate, harmonious, and slow. The dream unfolds as a continuous, fluid current, allowing deep, restorative mental rest. A frozen river winds through his dream, reflecting faint starlight and pale moonbeams. Beneath the ice, Currents continue quietly, sustaining hidden life. This duality mirrors the village above, outwardly calm, quietly active beneath the surface. Einar senses this harmony, observing without hurry, fully immersed in patient stillness. Snow continues to fall, layering softness upon the landscape. Wind brushes gently through pine branches and across rooftops. Distant hills remain motionless, absorbing subtle movement. Stars trace imperceptible arcs across the sky, constant and unwavering, connecting the village to the enduring universe beyond. The longhouse remains a sanctuary of warmth and calm. Firelight flickers softly, shadows drift slowly, and every breath taken deepens the restorative sense of peace. Sleep deepens, uninterrupted and restorative. Dreams carry Einar through snow-laden forests, frozen rivers, and distant mountains, each scene flowing seamlessly into the next, allowing profound relaxation and mental restoration. The village breathes as a single organism, coordinated, calm, and steady. Each inhabitant contributes subtly to the shared rhythm. Measured movement, warmth, and mindful presence combine to create a unified cocoon of restorative energy. Outside, the natural world maintains its own pulse, hidden animals, swaying branches, gentle wind, and under-ice currents coexist in perfect harmony with human life. As the night stretches on, snow accumulates silently, muffling distant sounds and softening edges. The forest remains calm, the fjord rests beneath ice, mountains observe silently, and stars continue their steady arcs above. Hrafnheim and its surroundings exist in a slow, deliberate, unbroken rhythm of endurance, rest, and quiet continuity. Einar drifts even deeper into restorative sleep. Dreams and consciousness merge seamlessly, forming a continuous field of calm and quiet. Pale hints of dawn touch distant clouds, signaling the eventual return of day without disturbing the current stillness. Time flows slowly, life continues harmoniously, and winter teaches lessons of patience, endurance, and serenity. The Viking winter night holds everything: village, forest, fjord, mountains, sky, and living beings, in a unified, patient embrace. The world rests, uninterrupted, infinitely enduring, and flows gently through the rhythm of northern winter. The first hints of dawn begin to brush the edges of the horizon, pale and delicate, softening the dark night sky. Light spreads slowly, a subtle, golden shimmer that barely touches the snow-covered rooftops of Hrafnheim. The village remains quiet, every breath, every sound absorbed by layers of snow and the enduring stillness of winter. The world feels suspended between night and day, a liminal space of calm and gentle awakening. Inside the longhouse, embers glow faintly, their warmth now joined by the soft illumination of early morning. Shadows shrink slightly, softened by the rising light. Villagers remain in slumber, their breathing deep and rhythmic. The harmony of movement and rest continues seamlessly. Each subtle sound, the crackle of embers, the faint rustle of blankets, the distant sigh of wind, becomes part of a gentle, meditative symphony. Einar remains near the hearth, drifting slowly between dream and wakefulness. He feels the gradual warmth of the rising sun through the windows, diffused across the frozen landscape. The subtle, golden light touches the snow, transforming it into gentle shades of white, cream, and pale blue. His mind, still adrift in dreams, blends the quiet rhythm of the village with the beauty of the awakening world outside. Outside, the forest breathes in the gentle light. Frosted branches glimmer faintly as the first rays of sun touch them. Snow crunches softly in hidden places where animals have shifted during the night. The distant mountains are touched with pale gold, standing silent and eternal, observing the village below with quiet majesty. The fjord reflects the dawn softly, cracks in the ice highlighted in gentle light, hinting at life beneath the frozen surface. Einar imagines stepping outside into the first light of morning. Each footstep is slow, deliberate, and meditative. The cold air brushes his cheeks, crisp but welcoming. Moonlight fades softly into the gold of dawn, and the snow sparkles as though catching every fragment of light. The village seems to breathe with the forest, the fjord, and the mountains, all existing in perfect, patient harmony. Within the longhouse, villagers begin to stir slightly. Movements are still gentle and careful, preserving the tranquility of early morning. Blankets are adjusted, embers stirred lightly, and pots prepared for the first meal. Each small gesture is deliberate, mindful, and harmonious, contributing to a continued sense of balance and calm. Einar walks slowly to the windows, observing the soft transformation of night into day. Snow-covered fields, frost-touched trees, and frozen rivers shimmer under the morning light. The wind drifts gently across the landscape, softening and blending every sound. The sky gradually brightens, pale shades of gold and pink spreading slowly, reflecting off the icy surfaces and creating a serene, unified panorama. The fjord glows softly beneath the dawn. Ice cracks faintly, revealing glimpses of flowing water below. Birds begin their first quiet calls, small notes in a vast expanse of calm. Hidden creatures stir slowly, their movements deliberate and silent. The village, the forest, the fjord, and the mountains exist together in a perfect rhythm of endurance, rest, and gentle awakening. Einar takes a deep breath, feeling the unity of life around him. The warmth of the longhouse, the soft light of the morning, the calm rhythm of snow and wind, all create a sense of completeness. He feels restored, connected, and peaceful. Dreams dissolve gently into consciousness, leaving only the quiet pulse of winter morning. As the sun rises higher, the village comes fully alive in its measured, tranquil way. Movements remain calm, sounds remain gentle, and the rhythm of life continues without urgency. Snow continues to reflect light, forests and fjords glisten softly, and mountains stand eternal, silent, and majestic. Hrafnheim exists in a patient, harmonious balance with the larger world around it. The Viking winter night has transformed into a serene, soft morning. The village, forest, fjord, mountains, and sky exist together in perfect harmony. Life flows slowly and gently, undisturbed, as winter teaches lessons of patience, endurance, and tranquility. The world rests, infinitely enduring, and flows naturally with the rhythm of the northern season. The morning unfolds slowly over Hrafnheim, soft and deliberate, as golden light spreads across snow-covered roofs and frozen fields. The village stirs gently, not with hurry, but with careful, unbroken rhythm. Every movement, from the shift of blankets to the slow steps of villagers emerging from the longhouse, is deliberate and harmonious. The air is crisp, carrying faint scents of pine, snow, and the lingering warmth of hearth fires. Einar steps outside, breathing in the soft, cool air. Snow sparkles in pale light, catching every fragment of gold and pink from the rising sun. Footsteps leave delicate impressions on the pristine surface, each step measured, meditative, and calm. The village, the fjord, the mountains, and the forest exist in perfect harmony, each element contributing to the slow rhythm of northern winter. The frozen fjord reflects morning light softly, cracks in the ice revealing hints of movement beneath. Birds stir gently, calling faintly across the quiet landscape. Hidden animals begin to move in deliberate, careful ways. The forest breathes alongside the village, and the mountains watch silently, eternal and unmoving. Every part of the environment seems synchronized in patient, enduring calm. Villagers move slowly, preparing the first meals and tending the hearths. Every gesture is mindful, maintaining warmth and comfort without disturbing the peace. Blankets are folded carefully, embers stirred with gentle precision, and soft conversation drifts through the longhouse, barely louder than a whisper. Each sound merges with the quiet of snow, wind, and distant mountains. Einar pauses at the edge of the village, observing the serene panorama. Frosted trees glisten, rivers and streams reflect muted sunlight, and rolling hills remain wrapped in layers of pristine snow. The wind drifts lightly, carrying faint scents of pine and earth. Everything is patient, deliberate, and enduring, an unbroken rhythm of life and rest. He walks toward the fjord, feeling the solid ice beneath his feet, hearing faint whispers of water moving beneath the frozen surface. The reflection of sunlight on ice creates delicate, shifting patterns of gold and silver. The fjord is calm yet alive, mirroring the village above. Einar breathes slowly, absorbing the unity of all living and non-living elements around him. The forest stirs subtly as morning grows. Tiny creatures peek from hidden dens, and birds move with careful attention. Snow continues to drift softly, adding to the blankets already covering trees and rooftops. Even the distant mountains seem to glow faintly under morning light, eternal observers of the gentle world below. The village exists as one living rhythm. Movements are slow, deliberate, and peaceful. Sounds remain soft, each gesture contributing to the ongoing harmony. Life flows naturally and without urgency. The warmth of hearths, the soft light of dawn, the gentle rhythm of snow, wind, and footsteps, all create a profound sense of restoration and calm. Einar closes his eyes briefly, feeling fully connected to the rhythm of Hrafnheim. The lessons of winter are clear: patience, endurance, reflection, and serenity. Every element of the environment, the village, fjord, forest, mountains, sky, exists together in perfect equilibrium. The moment is complete, timeless, and restorative. As the morning progresses, light spreads more fully across the village, illuminating every roof, field, and frozen stream. Villagers move in quiet, coordinated patterns, continuing the rhythm of life without hurry. The fjord glimmers under the rising sun, the forest breathes, and the mountains remain eternal and silent. Hrafnheim thrives in a state of calm, unity, and enduring peace. The Viking winter night has fully transformed into morning, carrying with it the quiet teachings of night, endurance, patience, and harmony. Life flows gently, uninterrupted, and infinite in its continuity. Hrafnheim and all of its surroundings exist in a slow, deliberate, and restorative rhythm that will continue until the next night falls, wrapping the village once again in gentle, snowy silence. And so, the winter day begins, soft, deliberate, and serene, leaving the village, its people, and the surrounding lands in perfect harmony, ready to continue the endless, patient rhythm of northern life. Good night, dear listeners. As Hrafnheim sleeps under a blanket of gentle snow, may your dreams be calm and serene, filled with peace and quiet warmth. Remember to take a slow breath, let go of the day, and allow yourself to drift into deep, restorative sleep. If you enjoyed this journey through the quiet Viking winter night, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more relaxing stories. Your support helps us bring more peaceful adventures like this one. Sleep well, and may the gentle rhythm of the northern winter guide your dreams tonight. Good night.